Chapter 1304. Shocking Lightning 2. The heavenly enchantress was fearless. She coldly stared at the path lord of carnal desires, and emotionlessly replied, "It's not up to you to say whether my way of the zither can affect you or not. Let's try it." The heavenly enchantress had already placed her zither in front of her, as her slender right hand lay on the strings. Clearly, she had made preparations for battle. The path lord suddenly began to glare. His eyes shone with an almost visible light, as he stared at the heavenly enchantress in shock. His evilness grew heavier, and he sneered, "You want to take me on? Let me put this straight first. If you lose, you'll become my 91st wife. Are you willing?" The heavenly enchantress' face sank as her eyes instantly became filled with killing intent. However, before she could respond, Yadrium flew from the crowd and coldly said to him, "What a shameless human Saint Emperor. You're a disgrace to the humans. Since you're so confident, I'll take you on. If I lose, you can do whatever you want to me. But if you lose, your life is mine." With that, Yadrium began to shine brightly with blue light, as an extremely terrifying amount of water-attributed energy poured out of her. It caused the surrounding space to violently shake, and the energy of the world began to rampage. The vast presence from her also made the surroundings shake, boldly enveloping the Path Lord. The Path Lord's body immediately sank. The tremendous pressure pressed his clothes against his body, as his face darkened in that moment. He had never thought that the Hall Master would begin fighting right now, nor did he expect her to be so powerful. She had caught him by surprise. The three Saint Emperors from the Beast God continent became rather stern. All of them grimly stared at the Hall Master. Although they had not fought Yadrium before, just her presence allowed them to sense her strength. Even Kaiser was not confident he could defeat her. 3 of the 4 champions from the ancient times have fallen. Only the Sea Goddess is still alive. The Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall has definitely obtained the legacy of the Sea Goddess, which is why she's so strong. She's even grasped the shocking secret techniques of the Sea Goddess, so her strength cannot be underestimated. I cannot fight her as an opponent. Similar thoughts crossed Kaiser and Linkiro's mind. The fear they felt for Yadrium had surpassed their fear for the heavenly enchantress. This was because they had both thought of the great possibility that she was guided by an Origin Realm expert. Her strength could not be compared to any regular Saint Emperor. The Path Lord's face darkened very much. He yearned to take the heavenly enchantress under him, to have her serve him every day. He would never let such a beautiful woman go. Although her soul attacks were very powerful, he was confident he could deal with them. But that was not the case with Yadrium. At that moment, the Path Lord was caught in a conundrum. If he were to proceed, it would be extremely likely that he would end up fighting Yadrium. But if he were to hold back, he would feel very embarrassed as a mighty Saint Emperor. If I sever all my emotions and desires and complete my divine method, why would I still fear the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall? The Path Lord harbored anger inside. He had a very strong feeling that if he completely severed his emotions and desires, he would definitely undergo a rebirth and transformation, and become an Origin Realm expert. It was just he could not make it past the last few stages. You evil person. If you bully brother's friends again, I will never let you go. I will beat you until your soul disperses. Xiaoling viciously waved her fist at the Path Lord. She was extremely angry. She could feel a very dense feeling of familiarity from the heavenly enchantress. The feeling came from Jianchen. So Xiaoling knew that the heavenly enchantress' relationship with Jianchen was something else. This was why she was so protective of the heavenly enchantress. The Path Lord immediately revealed a different expression because of what Xiaoling had said. He only felt some fear for the Hall Master, but he felt terror from the bottom of his heart for Xiaoling. He had personally experienced Xiaoling's power. Although she seemed like a naive little girl, the power she possessed was so terrifying that it was enough to slay Saint Emperors with a wave of her hand. He also knew that even if he severed all his desires and emotions, he would still not be Xiaoling's opponent, since he would reach receival at most. Xiaoling was at returnance. All the experts here watched on. Yadrium, the Path Lord of carnal desires, and the heavenly enchantress had all become the center of attention. There were quite a few people among the experts of the 100 races and sea race who paid attention to Xiaoling. Many of them felt extremely surprised and shocked that the barrier spirit of Mercenary City was actually an origin realm expert. A terrifying pulse of energy suddenly appeared from afar, while the Path Lord was caught in this dilemma. Even though it was several 100,000 kilometers away, all the Saint Kings gathered there could clearly sense it. The terrifying pressure shocked all of them. They no longer paid attention to Yadrium and the others. They shifted their gazes away and sternly stared in the direction the energy had come from. What's happening over there? Why has such a shock pulse of energy appeared, where even the mysteries of the world have been affected and have become disordered? Have the people of the other world found another entrance and are coming to our continent through that tunnel? That's extremely likely. This matter is extremely important. Let's go over and check the situation out immediately. The Saint Kings all discussed with one another before rapidly creating space gates and leaving. Very soon, half of the people there had left, only leaving behind around 1,000 Saint Kings to keep guard and carefully observe the movements of the tunnel. The Path Lord used this opportunity to break free from the situation. He was the first one to hurry over. He was soon followed by the 3 Saint Emperors of the Beast God continent and the Hall Master. They all traveled in the direction of the terrifying energy pulse. It had already become gloomy over Flame City. The moment before, the sun had been shining strong, but now, a thick layer of dark clouds had drifted over from somewhere. They enveloped the entire sky, blotting out the sun and causing the entire world to darken. Lightning flickered within the dark clouds as heavy sounds of thunder rang out from time to time, echoing through the entire region. The terrifying sound made the ground shake, and at the center of the clouds was a rapidly spinning whirl. Directly below the whirl was the tungsten alloy mine, several dozen kilometers away from the city. Chapter 1305. Shocking Lightning 3. Not only was everyone in Flame City alerted to the changes, but even the people within the expanse of the dark clouds were alarmed by the sudden change in the sky. The dark clouds had arrived just far too quickly, and they were filled with extremely tremendous pulses of energy that formed a terrifying pressure that made everyone feel like they were suffocating. The situation was just too abnormal. Within the City Lord's estate, Yu, Bai Lian, Bai Hai, and the Saint Rulers all stood outside the building, staring at the sky. They were shocked. They did not understand just what was going on in the weird dark clouds. Fairy Yu sat in her room within the silver-white divine hall, but her eyes suddenly snapped open. She stared out in interest. Although she was within the divine hall, her face seemed to be able to pierce through all obstructions. This is a heavenly tribulation. Heavenly tribulations usually only occur on the saints' world, and rarely happen in lower worlds. Has this world given birth to something impressive? She murmured as her eyes flickered in thought. Bai Hai stared at the revolving whirl of clouds for a while before saying to Yu and Bai Lian, "It's very abnormal there. I'll go investigate first. Take care of yourselves." With that he flew away. "Be careful, great-grandfather," Bai Lian called out from behind. Her voice was filled with concern. She has been staring at the huge whirl of clouds for a while, and was starting to get the sense that something might be wrong. She said to Yu, "Sister Yu, these dark clouds are just far too odd. I'm afraid that something will happen to great-grandfather, so please take me over as well. I still have the flaming jadeite's brother left on me. Enough to deal the strike of a Saint King, at great perfection. They can be very useful at crucial times." Yu nodded before tailing Bai Hai with Bai Lian in her arms. Bai Lian was still not a Heaven Saint Master, so he could not fly, which was why she needed Yu's assistance. At this moment, a silver streak of light flashed by. The bright moon divine hall flew from the City Lord's estate, and stopped the two of them. "My dear disciple, you cannot go. Just stay here. Those are no ordinary clouds. It's a heavenly tribulation. Once you get caught up in the tribulational lightning, even Saint Emperors will be doomed." Fairy Hao Yu's voice rang out from the divine hall. Yu and Bai Lian did not understand what a heavenly tribulation was, but from what Fairy Hao Yu said, the two of them immediately paled in fright. Yu said with worry, "Master, great-grandfather Bai Hai has already flown over. Quickly call him back. He has to come back unscathed." A streak of light, completely condensed from moonlight, flew out of the divine hall. It traveled at an unbelievable speed, catching up with Bai Hai in a single moment and grabbing him by the waist. Bai Hai knew that this light had come from Fairy Hao Yu, so he did not resist. He allowed the streak of light to pull him back. Just when he wanted to ask out of doubt, Fairy Hao Yu's voice rang out again. If someone else had said that, none of them would have believed it. They would have never thought that a swathe of weird clouds would be enough to kill Saint Kings. But the person who had said this was Fairy Hao Yu, so no matter how exaggerated it sounded, they believed what she said. Bai Hai's complexion immediately changed, and he looked at the clouds with a mixture of fear and surprise. At this moment, the space several dozen kilometers away began to violently ripple, and space gates rapidly appeared one after another. Great groups of Saint Kings emerged with a few Saint Emperors in between. The group of experts had hurried over from Mercenary City and had arrived in the region at the same time. However, as soon as they emerged from their space gates, they quickly flew toward the tungsten alloy mine and finally stopped 10 kilometers away from the central whirl of clouds. All of them stared at it sternly. None of them were bold enough to act recklessly before they understood the situation. Weird, what's happened here? Why has such a large expanse of dark clouds suddenly appeared? These clouds are teeming with weirdness. This doesn't seem to be a tunnel to the world of forsaken saints. The energy hidden within these clouds is just far too powerful. Even with my strength as a 7th heavenly layer Saint King, I actually can feel my skin crawl. All the Saint Kings gathered together to discuss the weather. They talked about the weird clouds, and a few braver Saint Kings even advanced toward the whirl of clouds. The bright moon divine hall flew over from afar and radiated clear moonlight. Fairy Hao Yu's cold voice loudly rang from the divine hall. This is a heavenly tribulation. It's something that occurs extremely rarely here. The area below the whirl of clouds is the place affected by the heavenly tribulation. Once you set foot there, you will be locked onto by the heavenly tribulation, and you will die even as a Saint Emperor. That's all I wanted to say. Do what you want. After warning everyone, she moved the divine hall to another region, stopping 20 kilometers away from the center of the whirl of clouds. A heavenly tribulation? What's that? All the Saint Kings were confused. They had lived for thousands of years and had heard about the various stories of the world. Some of them even possessed a clear understanding of a few matters that had happened in ancient times. But none of them had heard of the heavenly tribulation Fairy Hao Yu mentioned. Even the protector clans were the same. They found the term extremely unfamiliar, because their records never mention anything to do with heavenly tribulations. Fairy Hao Yu, may I ask what a heavenly tribulation is? Why does it happen? It is a signal. And how do you know about heavenly tribulations? A great elder of a protector clan asked. He spoke calmly and treated her as someone who stood on equal ground as him. She was just a soul now, after all, so her prestige to them was not as great as a living Saint Emperor. Yadrium, the 3 Class 9 magical beasts, and the Path Lord of Carnal Desires stared at the bright moon divine hall. It had been created from materials collected from the distant moon, so it was extremely rare and valuable. Not even Saint Emperors would possess a hall built of moon rocks, because the moon was just too far away. They could not create space gates in outer space, so the only way to reach the moon was by flying. Fairy Hao Yu remained silent. Nothing was worth her attention, even the 1,000 or so Saint Kings present, and the 5 Saint Emperors. She had come with her divine hall, just to see what had invoked the heavenly tribulation. Oh my God, what am I seeing? Is that actually a city completely forged from tungsten alloy? It's tungsten alloy. Oh my God. Its value is measured by the weight of purple coins. And it's such a huge city. Just how much tungsten alloy went into it? A human Saint King that had hurried back to the continent discovered Flame City in the distance, and immediately sighed in surprise. His eyes lit up. A few other human Saint Kings, who had only just returned to the continent, immediately looked over with that. Their eyes widened because of what they saw. This is unbelievable. It really is a city completely forged from tungsten alloy. As long as you possess this city, you will become the wealthiest and most respected person on the continent. Have I seen wrong? This city's not actually protected by a formation, nor does it have a barrier. It doesn't even seem to have a Saint King. It seems to be in the possession of a mercenary group. Another Saint King sighed in surprise while his eyes began to burn with desire. Although wealth was basically nothing to Saint Kings, it was still enough to interest many of them when it reached such an unfathomable level, tempting them to take it for themselves. The surrounding humans who belonged to the continent looked at the two Saint Kings like idiots after hearing what they had said. A good-hearted Saint King arrived beside the two of them and softly informed them, "My fellow brothers, I'd advise you to not lay your hands on Flame City, or even look at it. I can guarantee that you will regret it otherwise, because that city is something that the Protector clans fear not to touch." The two Saint Kings immediately shrank back with that. They quickly looked away and dismissed the thoughts. The other Saint Kings behaved the same. Something that even the 10 Protector clans dared not to touch was not something they could covet. At this moment, the pressure in the surroundings began to abruptly increase. With a deafening boom, a huge bolt of lightning, half a meter thick, fell from the whirl. It illuminated the surroundings with its light, turning them snow-white in a single moment, and struck the mountain range below at unbelievable speed. Chapter 1306, Shocking Lightning for Crack. A thunderous boom shook the surroundings as the bolt of lightning struck the tungsten alloy mine. A large portion of the tungsten alloy within the mine had been extracted already, only leaving behind the purest tungsten alloy, or deep below. Since the alloy left behind was just far too pure, it was extremely tough, and even a full-powered strike from a heavenly Saint Master would only leave behind a shallow mark. It was extremely difficult to extract, such that probably only Saint Rulers possessed the ability. However, why would Saint Rulers lower themselves to do something like that? As a result, the more pure ore had been left there untouched. But at this moment, an almost bottomless hole had been carved into the ore by the bolt of lightning. The ore that had been struck had vaporized without a single trace. The alloy seemed to have been reduced to nothingness by the lightning. The entire mine violently shook as if a great earthquake was happening. Countless mountains in the surroundings collapsed, and in the blink of an eye, huge cracks littered the boulders. The mountain range had been reduced to rubble in the blink of an eye. The surrounding Saint Kings, who were watching the spectacle, all became rather pale. They stared at the thick layer of clouds in the sky in both shock and dread. All of them slowly backed off subconsciously. They had all sensed the extremely powerful energy within the lightning the moment it fell. It was enough to instill despair in them all. They had never seen such powerful lightning before. Even Saint Kings at great perfection felt as insignificant as ants before it. It was not just the Saint Kings. Even the 5 Saint Emperors gathered there became extremely stern. The lightning was far more powerful than they had imagined. None of them believed they could block the lightning, and even if they managed to, they would be half dead. The power of the heavenly tribulation overwhelmed all of them, and they all retreated. They reached 20 kilometers away before stopping, afraid that they would be affected by the ripples. Only Fairy Hao Yu remained where she was. She had a very deep understanding of heavenly tribulations, and understood just how powerful they were as well as how to avoid them. As long as she remained outside the affected region, the heavenly tribulation would not be able to reach her. Bai Lian, Yu had arrived with the Saint Rulers of the Flame Mercenaries behind them. They all gathered beside the Bright Moon Divine Hall. There were just too many Saint Kings present. If something suddenly happened, they would hide in the Divine Hall immediately. Crack! With another deafening sound, the second bolt of lightning fell a few seconds after the first. It glowed with an extremely bright light, as it landed in the exact same place. The second bolt of lightning was clearly much more powerful than the first. It had reached a width of a meter, and wherever it passed by, black cracks would appear in space. It completely obliterated the tungsten alloy below, reducing it into nothingness. All it left behind was a meter-wide hole of an unknown depth. Suddenly, a faint, golden light began to glow at the bottom of the hole. The light was extremely dim, but it grew brighter and brighter at a visible rate. In just a few seconds, the light became extremely dazzling, resplendent like gold. A tremendous ripple of terrifying energy emerged from within the hole, enough to cause the Saint Emperors to reveal a different expression. The Saint Kings leaped in fright. What a terrifying energy ripple. It's no weaker than a Saint Emperor. Just what is this? Has some treasure of the world appeared? Specifically for us to deal with the threat of the world of forsaken saints? What's hidden within this mine? It's actually enough to invoke the wrath of the heavens and be struck by lightning. Is this a blessing or a curse for our continent? Oh no! The ripple of energy deep in the mine is rapidly strengthening. The lightning is so powerful, but it's unable to kill this unknown thing? The Saint Kings discussed the events occurring before them. None of them were able to keep calm. The 5 Saint Emperors were all stern as they stared fixedly at the bottomless hole formed from the lightning. Many people had already raised many ideas of investigating just what was below the mine. But the place was enveloped by a powerful ball of energy. No matter what they tried, they could not pass through it. Even Saint Emperors were no exceptions. At the bottom of the hole was a 30-meter wide space. A golden liquid currently floated there, enveloped in a resplendent golden light. The liquid seemed to be completely condensed from energy, and the energy was so powerful that it was stunning. Even Saint Emperors would not be able to keep their calm before it. The golden liquid slowly moved, forming a vaguely human shape. It seemed like an unborn fetus within the womb, where its limbs and head had not become fully distinguishable yet. Chapter 1307. The gold-clothed boy. The third bolt of lightning that fell was even stronger than the others. It was much more violent than the second, having reached 1.5 meters wide. The lightning struck the ball of golden liquid with great speed, causing it to violently quiver. However, it forcefully resisted the lightning that could kill even Saint Emperors. The ball did not dissipate, only shrinking a little. However, a closer look revealed that the energy within the golden liquid was rapidly strengthening, even though it had shrunken after being struck. It was undergoing a growth in quality, and the features of a human infant became much more evident and clear. Thunder boomed in the sky, shaking the surroundings. The lightning fell consecutively, with a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th bolt. Very soon, 8 bolts of lightning had rained down. Every single one of them struck the same place. Each one was more powerful and thicker than the last, and when the 8th bolt fell, the tremendous disturbance was enough to devastate the surroundings, turning them into darkness. The energy of the world in a surrounding 10,000 kilometers was vaporized, and the laws there fell into disorder. The saint rulers and saint kings almost fell out of the sky. The 5 saint emperors all paled. They all could feel the threat of death on that 8th bolt of lightning. It was so powerful that it could slay a saint emperor in a single moment. They would be helpless before it. Just what terrifying thing is hidden there? It can take on such terrifying lightning and still survive. The 5 saint emperors all felt extremely curious, as well as some unease. No one was able to investigate just what was hidden beneath the mine, but all of them knew just how powerful and terrifying it was. Quite a few of them felt dread. This is transcendence. An origin realm expert has been born on the Tianyuan continent, but it's unfortunate that this world does not have origin energy. It is unsuitable for origin realm experts to cultivate here, and the passage to the saints' world has been sealed by Shui Yunlan. If nothing happens, the origin realm spirit will find it very difficult to leave here, and will remain at the origin realm for the rest of his life. Fairy How You murmured inside her divine hall. She was also unable to check just what had invoked the heavenly tribulation, but with her knowledge and experience, she had guessed what it was long ago. Rumble! The sound of thunder roared across the sky, producing a string of heavy booms like the roar of a furious dragon. The clouds began to vigorously churn as tremendous energy gathered from all directions, condensing at its center. All the people present were shocked by that. They could already see that the clouds were charging up to deliver the strongest bolt of lightning they had seen yet. At the same time, the pulses of energy from beneath the mine became more and more powerful. The metallic essence within the mine began to rapidly gather from every direction. The tungsten alloy immediately lost its original luster with the loss of the metal essence, becoming extremely ordinary and fragile rock. In just a few seconds, the largest tungsten alloy mine on the Tianyuan continent lost all the tungsten alloy it had. It was reduced to an ordinary mountain range. The lightning in the sky had finished charging up. With a great boom that shook through the whole region, the ninth bolt of lightning fell resplendently. It was 4 to 5 meters thick, and the commotion it created was just astonished. Wherever the lightning passed, the space would shatter like mirrors and reveal the eternal darkness behind. At the same time, a tremendous ripple of energy appeared. A dazzling, golden light rose up from below, quickly taking to the sky, as if it wanted to rival the darkness of the void. It was a pillar of golden light. Like a dragon, it was vicious and violent as it climbed higher and higher into the air in an unstoppable manner. It collided with the lightning midair. Boom! A terrifying sound immediately erupted when two collided. Wild energy streams wreaked havoc in the surroundings while the mountain range immediately cracked apart. Countless mountains and cliff faces were flattened. The boom finally disappeared, and the cracks in the space began to heal after a long while. The surroundings recovered their initial brightness, while the lightning in the sky completely vanished. The sun shone just as resplendently as before, illuminating the surroundings. The eighth bolt of lightning could easily slay Saint Emperors, but the ninth bolt was countless times greater. However, the golden pillar of light from the depths of the mine could actually rival it, causing both to vanish into the surroundings. The Saint Kings hovered in the distance as they watched the scene unfold. What had happened earlier felt like a dream, completely overthrowing what they understood. They had never seen such terrifying lightning, nor did they ever imagine that such a terrifying but unknown thing would be hiding in the depths of the mine, which had greatly surpassed any abilities that Saint Emperors could possess. The 5 Saint Emperors quietly hovered there with pale faces. They stared at the changed mountain range in a daze. All of them were speechless. It's ended. Let's go. Fairy Hao Yu's face rang in Yu Yu's ears. Soon after speaking, the divine hall silently departed with Bai Lian and Yu Yu, returning to the city lord's estate in Flame City. Bai Hai stared at the unfamiliar mountain range, still rather taken aback with fright. He slowly calmed himself down before leaving with the saint rulers of the Flame Mercenaries. He no longer bothered with the matters that would follow. He knew very well that even if some treasure had truly appeared there, it would not be something that they could lay their hands on. The mine had been reduced to an ordinary mountain range, and even the terrifying energy below had completely vanished. However, there were still many Saint Kings who dared not to approach it, staring at the huge hole caused by the lightning in fright. A long while later, a bolder Saint King carefully made his way over to see what had happened. He even entered the hole, but he discovered nothing in the end. He did not find any treasure. There was only ordinary stone and nothing else. Afterward, more and more Saint Kings approached the area to investigate. Even the 5 Saint Emperors did the same, but the outcome was the same. They failed to discover anything. Not to mention treasures, they did not even find the residue of any treasures. The lightning was so powerful, so the treasure was probably smashed into oblivion. An older Saint King shook his head and regretfully sighed. Many people agreed with what he said very quickly. They really could not think of any other explanation other than this. They immediately became regretful as well. Fortunately, it's not a new tunnel discovered by the Saints' world. Everyone, since that's all to it, let's hurry back to Mercenary City and continue to keep guard, said the Grand Elder of Mercenary City. Very soon, the Saint Kings from Mercenary City left, and the mountain range became empty again. What was different from before was that it could no longer be called a mountain range. All the mountains had collapsed while a few of them had been flattened entirely. Mercenary City was still as bustling as before, but interesting discussions about the lightning could be heard on the streets. The matter became more and more exaggerated and more mystical, producing many versions of the story. A boy in gold clothes stood on a street of the city in a daze. He was less than a meter tall, and possessed a pair of large, bright eyes. He passed through the crowd rather timidly, looking around as he walked as if everything was interesting. The boy was white and chubby. He was extremely cute, and only seemed to be 3 or 4 years of age. His golden clothes brightly reflected light, and were as resplendent as gold. They seemed to have been made from pure gold. The boy's attire drew the attention of many people in the surroundings very quickly, but even more people became fixated on his gold clothes. The gazes were mixed with greed, curiosity, envy, and so on. Chapter 1308. Reverberating through Flame City. Who's this kid? How can he wear such luxurious clothes at such a young age? They seem to be made from gold. I wonder which large clan he comes from. Gold is extremely heavy, but the boy's clothes look soft, just like cloth. However, it shines even brighter than gold. You can tell that it's made from something extremely valuable with just a glance. This body is really cute. He's white and chubby, and his large eyes are filled with brightness. He really does make people want to spoil him. I want to have a child as cute as him in the future. The people on the street became fixated on him, and their discussions shifted to him as the topic. The boy in golden clothes was as attention-catching as fireworks. That was how unique and dazzling he seemed. There were even quite a few people who went up to the boy to ask him about things. They asked for his name, while some people directly asked him about his background. There were even some people had started fawning over him, asking about his well-being. They all believed that the boy belonged to an important clan. So once they got on good terms with him, they could even gain success and rise through the ranks. There were various people among them. Not only were there members of the Flame Mercenaries, there were mercenaries from other groups as well. There were also those who had come to join the Flame Mercenaries, those looking for work, as well as merchants and so on. Very soon, a great group of people had gathered around the boy and endlessly spoke to him. There were quite a few people who had come to watch as well. The boy was like a child who had never seen the world before. He became stunned when he was surrounded by such a large crow, staring at them blankly. His eyes were filled with curiosity, as well as some timidness. "Kid, what's your name? Are you lost? Tell me where your home is. I'll take you back." However, the boy said nothing no matter what the surrounding people asked. He just stood there in a daze as he blankly stared back at everyone. His face was filled with confusion. A few sharper people immediately caught an inkling from the boy's behavior. They immediately guessed that the boy's background was nowhere near as complicated as they had imagined, because all descendants of large clans would undergo extremely strict education from a young age, or be spoiled by their seniors' parents. They would possess a natural type of pride or supremacy, and not behave in such a confused manner. Is there something wrong with this child? Has he been abandoned by his parents? A person inquired. At that moment, the people around him became much quieter. Many people's opinions of the boy underwent some minute changes. At this moment, a fat, wealthy-looking, middle-aged man dressed as a merchant approached the boy with small white clothes. He crouched down and said with a wide smile, "Child, I've been a merchant for several dozen years, and my foresight is extremely great. I can tell with a single glance that the clothes on you are just far too ugly. They don't suit you. Look, I just happen to have these beautiful clothes on me. I'll give them to you. Come, let me take off your clothes, and then you can wear this." The fat man quickly moved as he said that, taking the boy's golden clothing off as quickly as he could. He then changed the boy into the white clothes that were also rather valuable. The boy acted like he understood nothing. He did not resist, allowing the man to take off his clothes and change him into the white clothes that seemed even better. This was because he could sense that the fat man would not harm him, nor did he hold any hostile intent. "You filthy merchant. You're tricking a kid for his stuff." Many people in the surroundings began to curse when they saw this. There were also a few people who sighed inside. They felt regretful over the fact that they did not act earlier. The boy's clothes were clearly something extraordinary, but unfortunately, the merchant had taken them away first. After getting the gold clothes, the fat man twisted them forcefully. As expected, they were as soft as embroidered cloth. They could not fade since they obviously had not been dyed. They were made from a material he had never seen before. And with his knowledge, he could immediately tell how extraordinary the material was. He immediately smiled complacently, disappearing into the crowd with the clothes. A few burly men in the crowd looked at each other before leaving the crowd as well, tailing the fat man. The most valuable item on the boy was his clothes, so now that it was gone, the crowd immediately lost interest and dispersed very quickly. The boy continued on without the crowd. He looked around as he moved, curious about everything. He would sink into his thoughts from time to time, but no one paid any more attention to him. The fat man who had taken the clothes had already made it outside the city now. He had discovered that a few people were tailing him, but he paid no heed to them at all. Instead, he hurriedly pulled the golden clothes from his bosom in excitement. He had already determined that the value of the clothes was far greater than anything he could imagine with his many years of experience, because he was unable to determine what they were made out of, even with all his knowledge. He had never seen nor heard about anything like this. However, his face immediately hardened when he stuck his hand into his bosom. The shining clothes were no longer present. He had grabbed a handful of soil. The soil had already been reduced to fine sand, slowly slipping through his fingers. What's happened? The fat man stared blankly for a while before crying out. He immediately became flustered and continued to dig into his bosom. Unfortunately, the clothes were nowhere to be seen. He could not find them no matter where he looked, only grabbing handfuls of soil. How is this possible? How is this possible? How is it soil? Where did the clothes from before go? Where did they go? I clearly put them here, the man said in sorrow. He thought through everything he had done since then, but he could not understand what had happened. Fucking fatty, hand over the clothes if you want to live. Over 10 burly men charged up from behind and surrounded him. They were all malicious, and the leader was an Earth Saint Master. The fat man had just lost the clothes, so he was furious. His face immediately sank when he saw the surrounding people and angrily bellowed, "Piss off! I'm not in a good mood." He arrived before the Earth Saint Master in a single stroke, directly hurling a punch. The fist shone with fire-red light, as it erupted with a suffocating wave of heat. The punch moved very quickly. The Earth Saint Master could not dodge it, so he placed the huge sword in his hand vertically across his chest. A heavy sound immediately rang out when the fist collided with the sword. The first cycle Earth Saint Master was blown away along with his sword. A sixth cycle Earth Saint Master. The man who had been blown away cried out as his expression became extremely ugly. The surrounding men all revealed different expressions when they heard that. They were only great Saint Masters, so how could they be an opponent of an Earth Saint Master? They immediately turned and fled. The fat man did not chase after them. He racked his head in annoyance and cursed. Some great expert must have realized the extraordinary clothes and secretly messed with me. It's my bad luck. I've lost several hundred gold coins because of this. The boy had already crossed a street back in Flame City. However, his white clothes became golden once again. They shone even brighter than gold. He was surrounded by another crowd of people again. His clothes were taken away by someone else again, because of his naivety, causing the clothes on him to be replaced once again. The boy looked at the new clothes, and found the process to be extremely odd. He could not understand why people liked to change him into beautiful clothes, and celebrated when they saw the beautiful clothes on him. Very soon, someone cried out in a building in the city. The man who had taken the boy's clothes away had discovered that they had been reduced to something ordinary after taking them back to his inn. Not only that, they were reduced to dust once he touched it. Bai Lian currently handled the daily matters of the mercenaries in the city lord's estate, while Yu sat beside in leisure, eating delicious cake. At this moment, a guard ran in from outside and dropped to one knee. He said, "Vice City Lord, I've just received a report that an extremely weird boy has appeared in our city. The boy wears gold clothes made from unknown material, and it's made many people go green with greed. Quite a few of them have used various methods to take his clothes, but they become extremely ordinary without long and turn to dust with a single touch. Meanwhile, the boy's new clothes will become golden once again. I suspect that this boy is far less simple than he seems, so I've specifically come to report this matter." Chapter 1309. A Desirable Boy by Lian raised her head and looked at the guard in doubt after hearing his report. She asked, "Are you saying that all the clothes the boy wears will turn golden, like how they were before they were taken off, and the clothes that were taken turn to dust as well?" "Yes, Vice City Lord. That's exactly what's happening, and I've even sent people to verify the outcome. This matter cannot be wrong. The boy only looks to be 3 or 4 years of age, so he hasn't cultivated before, yet he possesses an ability like this. I believe he is definitely something impressive, the guard politely replied. Although he was an Earth Saint Master, a reasonably powerful expert, people like him were just far too plentiful in the Flame Mercenaries. As a result, he dared not to show any arrogance before Bai Lian, even though she was weaker than him. Yu Yu looked over as she ate her cake, and became interested. She said to Bai Lian, "Sister Bai Lian, I'm assuming that this boy possesses some natural ability. These types of people are extremely rare on the Tianyuan continent. Why don't we go see just how wondrous he is?" Bai Lian became interested as well. She put down her work at hand and stood up in excitement. She said, "Okay, sure. I haven't gone out in ages, so we can stroll through the city with this." Yu Yu and Bai Lian had hit it off since they were around the same age, so they immediately left the estate on 2 mighty Class 5 magical beasts with a group of guards. A saint ruler secretly tailed them to protect them. The bright moon divine hall stood within the estate silently, as it shone with an everlasting glow. Its presence was vast, and it was beautiful, but it was also filled with a holy presence. In an empty corner of Flame City, an ordinary house sat. It was pitch black inside. Visibility was non-existent, and it was filled with the silence of the dead. However, an invisible pressure seemed to permeate the interior, making the house feel suffocating. At this moment, the door to the building opened, but the sunlight outside failed to enter the room. A skinny man entered the house like a ghost before silently closing the door. He dropped to one knee and growled, "Sect Master, Vice Sect Master, the Vice City Lord Bai Lian, and you have left the estate together. Have they brought the bright moon divine hall with them?" A deep and husky voice materialized in the dark. "The bright moon divine hall remains in the estate. They have not brought it with them," the man politely replied. "I understand. You can leave." The same voice rang out again. It seemed to come from everywhere, making it impossible to discern the place it originated from within the darkness. "Yes, Sect Master, Vice Sect Master. I shall leave." The person turned around and left. He did not make a single sound as he walked, even when opening or closing the door. Fantastic. They've finally left the City Lord's estate without the bright moon divine hall. "Sect Master, we can use this opportunity to take revenge." A heavy voice rang out again within the dark room, but it was clearly different than the person who had spoken before. "We've already remained here for a long time, just to kill the people most important to Jianshen. Yu Yu is his fiancée while Bai Lian is his sister. If we assassinate the two of them, Jianshen will definitely be left in agony. It's just been a pity that they've been hiding in the City Lord's estate and have never come out. I fear the bright moon divine hall that resides there, which is why we've waited until today. An opportunity has finally presented itself now. I'll wipe out their souls for sure, so they won't be able to be revived by a Class 7, Radiant Saint Master. Jianshen, my underworld sect is not something that can be trifled with. You've wiped it out, so just wait for our wild revenge. Killing your fiancé and sister will only be the first step." The people hiding there were Sect Master Gu Zhen and Vice Sect Master Luo Qi of the Underworld Sect, who had managed to flee. At this moment, a large group of people gathered in a large street. They discussed events with one another, causing the entire street to be blocked. A boy in gold clothes stood blankly in the center of the crowd, as he looked at the people around him in confusion. His cute face was filled with curiosity. Ever since he had found the city, he had been encircled by large crowds of people numerous times. Many of them hurriedly gifted him beautiful clothes, which made him extremely happy, but he could never understand why the people around him always liked to point at him. "I've heard that no matter what clothes they are, once they are worn by this kid, they'll turn golden. Its quality is extremely great, such that it becomes invaluable. Just look at the clothes on him. Anyone with some insight can tell that his clothes are worth even more than gold with just a single glance." "I've heard of that as well, but I also heard that once the clothes are taken off him, they will return to how they were before, and that they cannot be touched, or they'll be reduced to dust." What a wondrous boy. Surely he doesn't have an ability like the Midas touch. If that's true, doesn't that mean that he can produce endless amounts of wealth? Many people conversed around the boy, but when they heard about the Midas touch, all of their eyes burned with desire. At this moment, A middle-aged woman squeezed her way to a spot right before the boy. She smiled as warmly as she could and softly inquired, "Precious, you can't find your family? All the people around here are bad people. Only I'm good. Come with me. I'll go find your family with you, okay? Kid, come with me. I can guarantee you a hearty life. Brother, come with sister. I like you the most." The people around the boy frantically began to fight over him. But since they were not people with great statuses, they could not use force due to the lack of deterrence from people fighting back. As a result, they could only try various methods to trick the boy away. At this moment, 4 Heaven Saint Masters descended from the sky, while flickering with light colored by specific attributes. They landed in the center of the crowd and surrounded the boy from 4 different directions. Afterward, one of them clasped his hands at the surrounding people and said, "Everyone, we are from the Zhou hermit clan of Zhou. This boy belongs to our Zhou family, so we shall be taking him away." Chapter 13:10, Assassination 1. What are you saying? I may not know why this boy's appeared in the city, nor do I know which clan he belongs to, but I am certain that he does not belong to your Zhou family. Do you still need to mention that? The boy's special ability has obviously caught the Zhou family's eye, which is why they want to take him away. After all, it's extremely likely that this boy has the ability of Midas touch. If such a wondrous ability fully matures, the Zhou family will enjoy an endless supply of wealth. They can buy large quantities of monster cores and cultivation resources for their descendants, and make the clan even more powerful. Sigh. Too bad they're strong. They've sent 4 Heaven Saint Masters right off the bat, and they're a hermit clan as well. They possess a saint ruler, so we can't provoke them. Looks like the boy's going to be taken away by the Zhou family. Ha ha ha, people of Zhou. I never thought you would actually arrive so quickly. Unfortunately, you cannot take away the child. At this moment a loud chuckle rang out. 3 middle-aged men in white robes quickly flew over from afar, and also landed beside the boy. The 3 of them seemed valiant with straight eyebrows, but they all looked the same. They were triplets. The 4 Heaven Saint Masters from the Zhou family revealed different expressions when they saw the 3 men. One of them growled, "I never thought the Yun brothers of the Heartsword sect would come as well. You sure have quick access to information to hurry over from over 10,000 kilometers away." The 4 Heaven Saint Masters from the Zhou family clearly feared the triplets very much. Although the Heartsword sect was also a hermit clan, it was far more powerful than the Zhou family, as they possessed 3 saint rulers, outnumbering the Zhou family. At the same time, the 3 brothers had all reached the 6th cycle. Coupled with the fact that they were triplets, they understood one another and knew how to use combined attacks. They could work together perfectly, and if the 3 of them began fighting at the same time, they could defeat the 4 of them easily. The eldest among the 3 brothers chuckled and clasped his hands at the 4 Heaven Saint Masters. "Our Heartsword sect will be taking this child away. You shouldn't have any problems with that, right?" The 4 Heaven Saint Masters hesitated, so a second brother immediately sneered. "Do not say that this kid is a part of your Zhou family. I think you understand why." The 4 Heaven Saint Masters immediately revealed ugly expressions. After a moment of hesitance, the person who seemed to be in charge finally gritted his teeth and said, "All right, we don't want the child anymore. If you want to take him away, take him away. I hope your Heartsword sect can protect this child. His ability is unique, so it's probably already caught the attention of a few ancient clans." The eldest brother smiled mildly. "That's our problem, so there's no need for you to worry." He then turned around and said to someone beside him, "Third brother, take this child back." The 3 brothers were secretly worried as well. This was the territory of the Flame Mercenaries, and they did not know if the upper echelon of the Flame Mercenaries had received the news. They needed to take the child away before someone from the Flame Mercenaries could hurry over. The 3rd brother nodded once before arriving beside the boy and grabbing his arm, but the next moment, his face slightly sank. He seemed slightly startled by the boy. He could not help but call out, "What a heavy boy. He's at least several tons." The people in the surroundings broke into a hubbub with that exclamation. Some experts possessed many abilities that could make their bodies as heavy as mountains, connecting themselves with the earth, but the child right in front of them were only 3 or 4 years of age. Everyone became surprised once again, since he possessed an ability like that. The third brother immediately used both his hands. He wanted to lift the boy off the ground, but after using all of his strength, and after his face had become flushed with blood, the boy did not move at all. He was shocked, and the gaze he sent the boy reflected exactly that. With his strength, he could lift things that were several dozen tons heavy, yet he was unable to lift the boy, who was less than a meter tall. He found it difficult to believe. The eldest brother frowned slightly. At that moment, he too realized that the boy was probably far more complicated than he had imagined, which made him feel an even greater urgency to take the boy back. He did want the boy to be taken by another organization. Second brother, let's do it together, he called out before grabbing the boy with the other man. However, even when all three of them worked together, they failed to lift the boy up, shocking the crowd. The boy stared at the three brothers in confusion, as he blinked his large eyes. The three brothers wanted to vomit blood from his pure gaze. To think that they were mighty sixth cycle heaven saint master, yet they could not even lift a kid. Even though the child was unique, it was still embarrassing for the three of them. The Vice City Lord has arrived. Suddenly, a loud voice rang out from beyond the crowd, immediately causing the crowd to fall into a commotion. The densely packed people split apart by themselves to open a wide path. The three brothers sank inside as soon as they heard the voice. The matter they worried most about still happened in the end. Yu Yu and Bai Lian slowly made their way over on large, ferocious Class 5 magical beasts. Beside the two of them were several dozen guards. Even the weakest guards were third cycle Earth Saint Master. They all wore armor forged from tungsten alloy, and 10 Heaven Saint Masters formed the final line. We greet the Vice City Lord. All the people gathered in the street clasped their hands and bowed. They cried out thunderously. The position of Vice City Lord virtually reigned supreme in regard to the Flame Mercenaries and Flame City. It was even greater than the status of a king in the 8 great kingdoms. The three brothers sighed inside and helplessly let go of the child. They bowed deeply at Bai Lian with the 4 Heaven Saint Masters from the Zhou family and called out together. We greet the Vice City Lord. There's no need to be so polite, Bai Lian smiled. Her voice was soft and she spoke nonchalantly. She had experienced things like this countless times already, so she had learned how to easily deal with the situation. What a cute boy. Yu Yu stared at the boy in clothes that seemed to be made of gold, and she immediately took a liking to him. Bai Lian looked at the boy as well, and her eyes immediately lit up. She also took a liking to him. The boy was white and chubby. His large, dark eyes were filled with purity and naivety. He really was extremely cute. Let alone females. Even a few men would be tempted to glance at him a few extra times and sigh in praise. The boy stared at Yu Yu and Bai Lian without blinking. His eyes were filled with curiosity and confusion. For some reason, he felt that the two of them were particularly close with him at first glance, because he could feel an extremely warm presence from them. Yu Yu and Bai Lian dismounted at the same time and hurried to the boy's side. The 10 Heaven Saint Masters beside them immediately followed close beside them, protecting the two of them in a loyal manner. Even the Heaven Saint Masters from the Zhou family and Heartsword sect were driven 10 meters away. However, they dared not to show any displeasure and instead maintained a smile throughout. Little boy, tell sister what your name. Yu Yu crouched down beside the boy and smiled warmly as she asked softly. The boy stared at Yu Yu in confusion and said nothing. Little boy, tell sister what your name and where you live. Bai Lian asked as well in concern. The boy remained the same, confused and silent. It seemed like he did not know how to speak at all. At this moment, Yu Yu violently quivered. Her expression immediately underwent a drastic change, and the gaze she viewed the boy with was filled with extreme shock and disbelief. Just then, Fairy Yu Yu had spoken to her, so she had learned the true identity of the boy. The boy was actually the metal spirit that had withstood the 9 bolts of lightning from the tungsten alloy mine. He was a natural spirit, possessing extremely great potential. Yu Yu had also learned that the boy was an origin realm expert from Fairy Yu Yu at the same time. Yu Yu felt extremely shocked because of this. She could not believe that the harmless-looking boy was even more terrifying than Saint Emperors. standing at the same level as the 4 great champions from ancient times. Yu, what's wrong? Bai Lian sensed Yu's changes and immediately became suspicious. Yu sucked in a deep breath and forcefully calmed herself down. However, her opinion of the boy had already undergone a drastic change. After a short while of silence, Yu extended her hands toward the boy in a rather trembling manner. Yu softly said, "Little brother, I know you have no home. Why don't you come with me and live with me from now on? I'll treat you like my own brother, okay?" No one knew whether the boy understood what Yu had said or what she intended, but he did not turn her down. He obediently grabbed onto her hand. The boy found Yu and Bai Lian to be especially close, like family, because Yu and Bai Lian gave off a feeling that made him feel extremely warm. The boy was taken onto the Class 5 magical beast mount that Yu rode. But to everyone's surprise, the beast easily withstood the boy's weight, as if he was no longer as heavy as before. The Yin brothers bitterly watched everything unfold. They did not even think of the possibility that the boy had been resisting the 3 of them before, unwilling to go with them, which was why he had become so heavy that he was immovable. Just as Yu and Bai Lian were returning to the city lord's estate with the boy, the space within a radius of 100 meters suddenly froze. All the people within that area became immobilized, and even the saint ruler watching over Bai Lian secretly suffered the same fate. Chapter 13:11 Assassination 2. The 2 of them moved extremely fast. They seemed to have fused with the surrounding space, appearing before Yu and Bai Lian in a short moment through the use of spatial force. The dagger in their hands stabbed toward the center of Yu and Bai Lian's eyebrows, wanting to wipe out their souls in a way that even Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters could not revive them. This time, the strongest guard they had brought was only a saint ruler. They did not possess any saint kings secretly watching over them, so the impressive-looking group of guards were completely useless against the assassination attempt from 2 saint kings. They had just been reduced to a deterrence. Even the saint ruler protecting them secretly suffered the same fate. He was immobilized by the frozen space. However, not everyone within the 100-meter radius had been frozen. The boy who sat on the Class 5 magical beast with Yu was completely unaffected. He stared at the 2 Saint King assassins as they rapidly approached him with his large, naive eyes. He only seemed to be 3 or 4 years old, but he could easily follow the movements of the 2 Saint Kings. At the same time, a ball of gentle, white light rose out from Yu. The moon god scepter flew out of her space ring. It was small and exquisite, and its simple patterning was clearly visible. The fist-sized white gem embedded at the top shone with gentle moonlight. The moon god scepter hovered before Yu, and suddenly, an extremely powerful ripple of energy swept out of the gem. It formed a thin-looking but tough barrier around Yu and Bai Lian. This was the energy fairy Hao Yu had left behind. It was her power when she was a peak saint emperor, which had been activated during this crucial moment. The 2 Saint Kings were less than a meter away from Yu and Bai Lian right now. Seeing how they had become protected by a barrier of energy, a sharp light immediately flashed through their eyes. They used all they had. The vast energy within them surged into their daggers, slicing through the surrounding space. They wanted to kill them in a single blow. The boy's gaze finally underwent some changes at that moment. His eyes were no longer filled with confusion or curiosity. Instead, they glowed bright like stars and contained some anger. The boy could sense the killing intent from the 2 Saint Kings. The boy would not have reacted if the Saint Kings attacked other people, including the guards around Yu and Bai Lian, but they just had to attack the 2 people that he felt most close with, and who gave him a warm feeling. At this crucial moment, the boy struck out. He extended his 2 soft, white small hands. They shone with dazzling golden light, even more resplendent than gold and more blinding than the sun. The light directly engulfed the 2 assassins. The next moment, the 2 assassins came to a sudden halt before their daggers could land on the barrier of moonlight force. They had already become trapped in the air by a mysterious and powerful force. The 2 assassins were shocked. They had been Saint Kings for a very long time. Although they had not reached great perfection, Even those at great perfection would not be able to completely trap them. They would only able to make them pause for a moment. Yet they were trapped right now. Not only were they immobilized, even the energy within them had broken away from their control. They had been reduced to ordinary people, shocking them greatly. Now that the two Saint Kings were trapped, the frozen space in the surroundings returned to how it had been before, and the several dozen guards all noticed what had happened. There are assassins. Protect the Vice City Lord and Princess Yu. The hidden Saint Ruler loudly called out as he aggressively charged at the two Saint Kings first. However, his face was pale. This paleness did not come from being frightened by the two Saint Kings, but by what was about to happen to Yu and Bai Lian. He understood just far too well how important the two of them were to Jianshan. If the two of them had been assassinated under his watch, it would be him who would have been held responsible. Probably only his death would suffice at that time. A flare shot into the sky and loudly exploded. It was visible across the entire city. A guard had sent out a signal for help as quickly as he could. The Saint Ruler had already arrived beside one of the Saint Kings, and swung his machete toward Luo Qi's neck, without any hesitation. Even though Luo Qi was a Saint King, he was currently trapped by the boy. Not only did he lose his mobility, he even lost control over the energy inside him. He could not use any Saint King's abilities either. He could not dodge the strike at all, only helplessly watch as the flaming machete flew toward his neck. Spurt. Luo Qi was easily beheaded. His head parted from his body. The blood spurted a meter into the sky, but he was still alive. As long as the souls of Saint Kings remained, they would not be able to die. The Saint Ruler became stunned when he saw how he had beheaded the Saint King so easily. However, he returned to his senses very quickly, and without any hesitation, he immediately swung at Luo Qi's head again, in an attempt to wipe out his soul. Luo Qi's head was sliced into two by the swing. His fragile soul disintegrated away. Meanwhile, the 10 Heaven Saint Masters around Yu and Bai Lian boldly charged at Gu Zhen as well. They all struck out as hard as they could, covering Gu Zhen with wounds in a short moment, even though he was just about to become a peak of Saint King. Chapter 13:12. Xiaojing Gu Zhen became wide-eyed and became filled with regret and humiliation. He was a mighty Saint King only an inch away from the peak of Saint King. Even with the whole continent in perspective, he was able to rampage wherever he went. Yet he was now covered in wounds from ant-like Heaven Saint Masters, and even Earth Saint Masters. He was in horrible condition, and this would become a permanent stain to his name. However, he was just unable to do anything. A mysterious and powerful force trapped him, where he could not resist at all. He just became a sitting duck, as ant-like existences heavily injured him. Spurt, 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 spurt. The several dozen Earth Saint Masters and Heaven Saint Masters rapidly swung their saint weapons at every inch of Gu Zhen's body. In the blink of an eye, he was covered in blood, and the wounds on him had become countless. A large portion of his neck was gone, and only a third of the flesh kept his head connected to his body. His head had almost fallen off, and was covered in wounds as well. He had become blind in one eye. Gu Zhen was an extremely powerful Saint King, but he was a human after all. He did not possess a naturally tough body like magical beasts. If a Class 8 magical beast was in the same situation, its body would be able to remain unscathed even from attacks of Saint Rulers. Am I really going to die to the hands of ants today? God damn it. I never thought that there would actually be a Saint Emperor hidden within Flame City. Is it Fairy Hao Yu? No, that's impossible. She's just a soul now. She doesn't possess her former strength, Gu Zhen growled inside. He was more willing to be slain by an expert as strong as him than be hacked away by a group of ants. He struggled with all he had, but the mysterious force was far greater than he had ever imagined. It was useless no matter how hard he tried. This person's a Saint Ruler at the very least. Experts at those levels will not die as long as their souls remain. Let's attack his head together. A Heaven Saint Master called out. He was unable to tell whether Gu Zhen was a Saint Ruler or Saint King with his strength. He only knew that Saint Rulers possessed the ability to freeze space. The other guards chopped at Gu Zhen's head with that. In just a short while, Gu Zhen's head was obliterated by the flurry of attacks. but his soul remained. An illusionary figure condensed in the air, but it seemed as thin as a wisp of smoke. The strongest were only sixth cycle Heaven Saint Masters. Clearly, they were unable to wipe out his soul with a single attack, but their attacks were enough to deal extremely heavy damage. The soul had become extremely illusionary. The guards immediately felt surprised when they saw that Gu Zhen was still alive. Suddenly, Gu Zhen's soul beamed with joy since he had sensed that the mysterious force around him had vanished. Without any hesitation, he immediately attempted to flee. But a streak of fire-red light flashed over at this moment. The saint ruler who secretly guarded Bai Lian charged over with his machete surrounded by flames. He swung it at Gu Zhen's soul with an unstoppable force. A saint ruler's strength was incomparable to a group of Heaven Saint Masters. Gu Zhen's weakened soul collapsed from the strike. He had been killed off. The saint ruler slowly put away his weapon after Gu Zhen's soul dispersed. His face was flushed while his body gently trembled due to extreme excitement. Only he understood that the two assassins were not saint rulers but saint kings. He had actually killed two saint kings with his strength today. If such an unprecedented feat was broadcast, it would definitely shake the entire continent. He felt extremely prideful about this feat. Yu had already grasped the moon god's scepter, except its gem had become much dimmer now. Although Yu and Bai Lian had just experienced something frightening, the two of them maintained their usual demeanor, because Yu always carried the scepter with her. It contained a fragment of power from Fairy Hao Yu all those years ago, so let alone attacks from Saint Kings, it could even easily block attacks from Saint Emperors. There was enough to last until the Divine Hall arrived. Little brother, I really have to thank you for before. If it weren't for you, I'd probably be in danger now. Yu put the scepter away and gently rubbed the boy's head. Her face was filled with affection. The boy immediately felt a warm feeling expand inside, as if he was being embraced by his family. It was comforting, calming and lovely, while the closeness and familiarity he felt for Yu deepened as well. The boy suddenly looked at Yu with his large round eyes. They were so pure, yet filled with curiosity. He finally stuttered after a long while, "Sister." The boy did not seem to have spoken before, so the word seemed extremely difficult and foreign when he uttered the single word. Yu immediately beamed with joy. She happily said, "Oh, you've finally spoken, and I had thought that you didn't know how to speak." Yu was extremely excited inside. She knew the boy quite well. It was quite an honor to be called sister by an Origin Realm expert. "Good boy. Say sister as well." Bai Lian stuck her head over as well and looked at the boy affectionately. She paid no attention to the two bloody corpses up ahead. "Sister." The boy blinked as he looked at Bai Lian, calling her sister. However, he spoke much smoother this time. "You probably still don't have a name, right? Why don't I give you one? Seeing how you're wearing gold clothes, you might as well be called Xiao Jin." Bai Lian giggled happily. Afterward, he stuttered as he repeated the name, Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin. At this moment, most of the other guards and saint rulers had all hurried over from the city lord's estate. The person leading them was Bai Hai. He was in a complete panic, but when he saw that Yu and Bai Lian were fine, he let out a sigh of relief. "Fortunately you're fine, or I would have been riddled with regret." "Oh right, have you investigated who the assassins are? Once we find the main instigator, we cannot forgive them at all," Bai Hai said with some lingering fear. And when he reached the end of his speech, he immediately became stern. "Bai Hai, the people who have tried to assassinate the Vice City Lord and Princess Yu were two Saint Kings." The Saint ruler who secretly stood guard sternly replied. Bai Hai's face changed as soon as he heard that. After a moment of silence, he said, "Take the corpses of these two people back. Looks like we can only deal with this after my grandson gets back." Saint Kings had already surpassed the limits of what Bai Hai could deal with. The city possessed nothing else that could deal with Saint Kings other than the Bright Moon Divine Hall. Yu and Bai Lian returned to the estate in a formidable fashion, under the protection of the guards. However, a boy in gold clothes had appeared within the estate from that day on. He basically followed Yu and Bai Lian around everywhere, sticking close at all times. He spoke very less, and was extremely obedient, making him everyone's favorite. He would purposefully get close to Bai Hai at times as well, revolving around him such that even Bai Hai began to take a liking to the child. Yu secretly told Bai Lian and Bai Hai about Xiao Jin's secret identity. Bai Lian wavered between belief and disbelief while Bai Hai broke into laughter. He completely thought that Yu was joking, so he did not believe her at all. It was far too shocking that a boy, who seemed to be 3 or 4 years of age, and could not even talk, was an Origin Realm expert. Nobody would have believed this revelation. Chapter 1313. Movements of the Tao family in the world of Forsaken Saints. The scorching sun shone like blood as its demonic light illuminated the world. It was extremely hot, such that it felt like one's skin was being burned when it landed on people. The cultivation resources in the world of Forsaken Saints far outclassed the Tianyuan continent. To the people of the continent, the world of Forsaken Saints was like the heaven of legends, a holy land for cultivation. However, Tianyuan continent seemed like the realm of immortals in terms of scenery. There was nowhere in the world of Forsaken Saints that could rival the beauty of just a few places on the Tianyuan continent. A vast mountain range, only smaller than the World Mountains, stood on the eastern side of the world. All the steep mountains possess flat peaks, as if they had been forcefully chopped off by someone, allowing majestic, ancient halls to stand on them. The hall in the very center was over 10 kilometers long and wide. It stood several thousand meters tall. It was the most eye-catching, since it was completely made from white jade. The snow-white structure gave off a different kind of ambient light as the blood-red sun shone from above. It was enchanting. This was the most sacred and most glorious place of the world of Forsaken Saints, the Sacred Spirit Hall. The Sacred Spirit Hall was supreme within the world of Forsaken Saints, because they were the rulers. If the world of Forsaken Saints was an extremely vast empire, the Sacred Spirit Hall would be the imperial palace, while the Spirit King would be the current emperor. He possessed supreme authority and controlled the world. The Spirit King currently sat on a grand throne in simple clothes, with a metal sword on his back within the hall. Below him sat over 40 Origin Realm experts quietly, and below them were the illusionary souls of several dozen Saint Kings at great perfection. Spirit King, the other world is pitifully weak. Not even a single Saint Emperor has appeared. Spirit King, the other world does not have origin energy, and the energy of the world is thin. The strongest people among them are equivalent to Saint Kings at great perfection, and there's only a few thousand of them. Spirit King, the other world lacks origin energy, but the scenery there is extremely beautiful. It's like a realm of immortals. I swear that I've never seen such a beautiful world before. The Saint Kings all reported everything they had learned from the other world to the Spirit King without hiding anything at all. The Spirit King and the other Origin Realm experts all frowned. The strength of the other world was nowhere near what they had imagined. Spirit King, there's an extremely frightening plane of ice in the other world. As soon as I was transported away, I was frozen by extremely heavy frost. I lost consciousness without even being able to exist. Another Saint King at great perfection reported courteously. However, this only raised the slight attention of the Spirit King and the Origin Realm experts. There were quite a few danger zones in the world of Forsaken Saints that could kill Saint Kings at great perfection instantly, so it did not attract their attention. Spirit King, since the other world does not have origin energy, it's impossible for them to give birth to Origin Realm experts. As a result, the Origin Realm expert who guards the seal is likely to be a natural spirit, because only natural spirits can continue cultivating in such horrendous conditions, said an old man at returnance. He had lived for several tens of thousand years, so he was knowledgeable. He knew many secrets and rumors, something that the Spirit King could not rival, since he was only 800 years old. Elder Mu too has raised a fair point. The Origin Realm expert is definitely a natural spirit. There can't be many of them, so what should we do next, Spirit King? Another returnance elder asked. The Spirit King paused for a while before coldly replying. The plan will remain the same. Once the spatial tunnel stabilizes enough, send 500 personal guards through. Since the other world does not welcome us, we can only conquer it by force. But your personal guards are only Saint Emperors. They won't be able to contend with that Origin Realm expert, a returnant's elder said with some worry. The Spirit King did not waver at all. The metal sword on his back produced a clear resonance, as it flew into his hand as a dark streak. He gently rubbed it and said, "Just let my sword of passing clouds deal with that Origin Realm expert. I'll leave a portion of my power in the sword. I may not be able to use my full strength, but it'll be more than enough to keep that expert busy." A huge divine hall stood in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall within the Sea Realm. It was the main base of the Tao family. Many newly built buildings stood around it, housing a few ordinary clansmen within the alliance. After experiencing the intense battle with the Turtle clan, the alliance always kept the divine hall outside. All the important members of the alliance, including the several Saint Kings, stayed in the divine hall to prevent a sudden sneak attack from the Turtle clan. The Tao family had suffered heavy casualties last time and had lost several Saint Kings. The violent ripples of battle had even affected the foundation of the clan, but this failed to weaken them. They had become even more powerful than before. This was because Tao Jingtian used this as an opportunity to gain complete control over the clans in the alliance. He was the only one in possession of a divine hall, so the other Saint Kings could only join the Tao family to protect themselves from the Turtle clan's attempts at revenge. Tao Jingtian sat at the center of the divine hall in the back, while the Saint Kings from the other clans sat beneath him in an orderly fashion. They were very reluctant to have their relationship with the Tao family devolve from allies to subsidiaries, but they were helpless to stop the transformation. The strength of the Turtle clan has surpassed all of our imaginations. We may have a divine hall that the Turtle clan can do nothing to, but they also have one as well, so we can't do anything to them either. Our enmity has already reached a point of no return, where only one of us, the Alliance or the Turtle clan, can remain in the end. With my understanding, the ruler of the Turtle clan is an unprecedented genius. His strength has rapidly increased, and in just a few short years, he's grown from the 15th star expert to the 16th star. And he's a rather powerful 16th star expert. If this continues, he'll become an emperor without long, Tao Jingtian said heavily. He was extremely stern. The Saint Kings below felt shocked. One of them immediately asked in doubt, "Patriarch Tao, becoming an emperor is not that easy. Aren't you overestimating the ruler of the Turtle clan by saying he will become an emperor?" "Yeah, Patriarch Tao, the ruler of the Turtle clan really does have some skill. I do believe that he will reach the level of Hall Elders, but I cannot believe that he will become an emperor." The Saint Kings in the hall revealed their doubts. Tao Jingtian slowly answered, "Who knows about the future? I've conducted special investigations of the ruler from the Turtle clan, and according to what I can recall, he was not even a 14th star expert a few years ago. The Grand Elder of the Turtle clan had been slain by one of the 5 great magical beasts, and 2 of the great human experts. It's only been so long since then, yet he's already become one of the stronger 16th star experts. His rate of improvement really is unbelievable. If you're saying it's due to some heavenly resource, I really cannot think of anyone that can increase his growth at such a rate. As a result, I've concluded that he possesses shocking talent, and his potential is tremendous. If he successfully matures, he will definitely become an emperor in the future. At that time, there will only be death for us, even if we have the divine hall." The Saint Kings all revealed ugly expressions. They all felt extremely heavy inside. Tao Jingtian continued, "As a result, we need to kill him before he fully matures. Patriarch Tao, the experts of the Turtle clan outnumber us, and they also possess a divine hall. We cannot kill their ruler," a Saint King bitterly replied. Tao Jingtian sinisterly smiled. "I have my plans for this. If it succeeds, the ruler of the Turtle clan will be dead for sure, even if he has a divine hall." Tao Jingtian immediately concluded the meeting before silently leaving the divine hall without alerting anyone. He made his way to the territory of the Serpent God Hall as quickly as he could. At the same time, it had already reached the final few days before the 3-month deadline in the Xianhuang microcosm. Jian Chen and Tai Ta had embarked on their journey back with bountiful harvests. They followed the marks they had left behind, heading to the exit of the world as quickly as they could. The Xianhuang microcosm was extremely large. They had not even covered a tenth of the entire space in the time they had spent there. But they still found many heavenly resources, and gathered many energy crystals of Class 9 Xianhuang beasts. However, what Jianchen was most joyous about from this trip was not the large amount of high-quality heavenly resources, but that he had found all the materials for the azulate swords. His dream of many years would finally come true. A day later, a Saint King Elder walked courteously into a vast but extremely quiet hall within the central divine hall of the Serpent God Hall's territory. He said to the empty hall, "Hall Master, the ancestor of the Tao family, a peak-level clan in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall, wishes to see you." He stated that he has some important matters to report. Chapter 13-14. Hall Master of the Serpent God Hall, the Tao family of the Sea Goddess Hall? A heavy voice suddenly rang out from the empty hall. It seemed to come from everywhere, making it impossible to determine its origins. Esteemed Hall Master, it is the Tao family of the Sea Goddess Hall. Tao Jingtian is currently waiting outside the Divine Hall. He wants to see you, the elder said courteously. The Hall Master thought a little in silence and said, "Recently, an intense battle erupted between the Turtle Clan and the Tao family. The Tao family suffered heavy casualties. I already know why Tao Jingtian has come. Let him in." "Yes, sir." The elder bowed before leaving. Soon, Tao Jingtian was brought to this majestic hall, under the lead of the elder. Tao Jingtian immediately erased all presence of arrogance when he arrived there. He lowered his head slightly and behaved politely. He refrained from breathing heavily and dared not to look around. "Esteemed Hall Master, Tao Jingtian is here," said the elder politely. "You may go." "Yes, Hall Master." Only Tao Jingtian stood in the extremely grand hall after the elder was dismissed. He immediately bowed at the empty throne there and politely said, "Tao Jingtian greets the esteemed Hall Master." The Hall Master did not appear, but his heavy voice rang through the hall. "Tao Jingtian, I know why you've come. You want me to help you deal with Jianshen." The voice seemed to possess a certain amount of pressure. Tao Jingtian immediately felt like his soul was about to shatter from the voice, which terrified him. Afterward, he became even more courteous toward the Hall Master. "The esteemed Hall Master is too smart for me to have actually read my intentions. You are correct. I have come this time hoping that the Hall Master can step in and remove the threat of the Turtle Clan, so my Tao family can be saved," Tao Jingtian said in a deep voice, without the dignity of the patriarch of the Tao family at all. "Your Tao family belongs to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. It has nothing to do with my Serpent God Hall, so why should I save you?" The Hall Master queried. Tao Jingtian immediately dropped to one knee and politely said, "Esteemed Hall Master, the enmity between my clan and the Turtle Clan has reached the point of no return. Only one of us can remain standing in the end. Meanwhile, the ruler of the Turtle Clan has an unknown friendship with the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall, so it's impossible for her to protect us. With the entire sea realm in perspective, only you can save my clan. Please protect us." Tao Jingtian paused before continuing. "Not only does the ruler of the Turtle Clan Jianshen possess an extremely deep enmity with my clan, he's never viewed the sacred Serpent God Hall with any importance at all. Back then, he came to challenge the dignity of the Serpent God Hall with just his Octotera Divine Hall. So he cannot be forgiven. Even cutting him to pieces would not be enough to make up for his crimes. Unfortunately, the ruler of the Turtle Clan possesses unprecedented talent. He's growing just far too quickly. He's reached the 16th star from the 14th star in just a few short years, and he's reached the higher levels of the 16th star. If he is given some more time, he'll definitely reach the level of emperors. At that time, not only will he devastate my Tao family, he'll become even more fearless. He will cause trouble for the Serpent God Hall, and cause endless problems for the esteemed Hall Master." The Hall Master fell silent after listening to Tao Jingtian's analysis. Only after a long while did he say, "What you said is rather reasonable. Jianshen's talent is very great, and his speed of growth has even taken me aback. He really might become an emperor once he is given enough time. Tao Jingtian cheered inside. He knew that the hall master had been tempted, so he took the opportunity to add, "Esteemed hall master, we cannot let the ruler of the turtle clan to become an emperor, because he belongs to the territory of the sea goddess hall, and has an extraordinary relationship with the hall master of the sea goddess hall. If he becomes an emperor, the strength of the sea goddess hall will skyrocket. At that time, probably the balance of the entire sea realm will shift. This is extremely detrimental to you, esteemed hall master. So we need to eliminate the ruler of the turtle clan as soon as possible." This time, the hall master fell silent for quite a long time. He also seemed to be able to sense the danger that Jian Chun would bring. The forces of the sea realm were locked in a three-way stalemate right now, where each territory possessed an emperor. They were in a balance with one another, but if the sea goddess hall gained another saint emperor, then the balance would definitely be broken. The hall master finally said after a very long time, "Tao Jingtian, there are restrictions between we three emperors. We cannot trespass each other's territory so easily. At the same time, that little girl Yadrium has become a saint emperor slightly later than me, but her strength is unfathomable. She is not easy to deal with, so I cannot cross the boundary to slay the ruler of the turtle clan. You are responsible for baiting him into my territory. As soon as he sets foot here, I can kill him without any fear. At that time, even that little girl Yadrium won't be able to say anything. Yes, do not worry, hall master. I will definitely draw the ruler of the turtle clan here." Tao Jingtian was overjoyed. He appeared excited but mumbled inside, "I never thought that the hall master of the serpent god hall would fear the hall master of the sea goddess hall so much. Looks like she's stronger than him." Chapter 13-15, Family Conflict 1. Virtually all the saint kings of the Tianyuan continent had gathered in Mercenary City. Only a few saint rulers were temporarily able to avoid the affair. People needed to be at least saint kings to deal with the threat of the foreign world. The saint rulers were no different from cannon fodder before saint kings and saint emperors. Although there were far more saint rulers than saint kings on the Tianyuan continent, their numbers were limited. Unless they ran out of options, they would never let saint rulers die for nothing, because they were the future of the continent. Over 30 people of different ages had gathered in the ancestral hall of the protector Changyang clan. They were all saint rulers, and a few of them had reached the 9th heavenly layer. They were only an inch away from becoming saint kings. An old, dignified, 9th heavenly layer saint ruler said to the group, "Everyone, I've summoned you here today to discuss an important matter. Not only does this relate to our dignity, it also connects to the prestige and status we should have as a protector clan." The old man was Changyang Qingyu, the most prestigious person among the Qing branch aside from the esteemed great elders. Not only was this because of his level of cultivation, it was also because of his talent. He was one of the few saint rulers who had managed to grasp a saint-tier battle skill. At the same time, he already had a foot planted in the realm of saint kings, and would become the 4th great elder of the Qing branch soon. None of the saint rulers from the Qing and Yuan branch said anything. They all looked at Changyang Qingyi. He had become the backbone of the clan in some vague sense, now that the great elders were not present. Changyang Qingyi paused and looked around. He became extremely stern and then said, "I think some of you already know what I am going to say next." "Correct. It'll be related to the Zhu branch breaking away from the protector clan. Since ancient times, the 3 branches have all been one family. Yet the people of the Zhu branch have actually broken away over a single saint's fruit, and have even worked with magical beasts to seal our miniature world. We're one of the 10 protector clans after all. So when have we ever experienced such humiliation without doing anything? As a result, we cannot let this matter slide. The esteemed great elders have gone to Mercenary City for some important matters, so they are busy for now. This is why we need to act personally to regain the dignity of the clan." Changyang Qingyi, do you plan on making trouble for the Changyang clan in Lore City? What do we do if we come across the 3 magical beasts? We can't deal with them. Another old man, Also a ninth heavenly layer Saint Ruler asked. Changyang Qingyi smiled mysteriously and said, "That's not necessarily true. We're not looking for trouble, but resolving matters within our clan, getting the people of the Zhu branch to return to our protector clan. The Zhu branch won't be able to leave so easily just because they want to. You don't need to worry about the 3 magical beasts. According to what I know, virtually all the Saint Kings have gathered in Mercenary City, so the 3 magical beasts are no exceptions either. The Changyang clan in Lore City no longer possesses a Saint King watching over them. They just have a few old friends that we know." Changyang Qingyi is correct. We've been sealed up in the miniature world for such a long time. So how can we let the matter slide without saying or doing anything? Otherwise, people will just look down on us. A middle-aged man in red robes nonchalantly added. He was a Saint Ruler from the Yuan Brock, currently at the peak of the 8th heavenly layer. The other Saint Rulers obviously had nothing else to say now that the representatives of the 2 branches had agreed. So the rest of them agreed with Changyang Qingyi's suggestion. They had been locked up in the miniature world like prisoners since a few days ago. So they were utterly furious. All they lacked was someone to initiate everything. The Changyang clan remained as peaceful as before in Lore City. Only the people from a few nearby hermit or ancient clans had come to visit them. Because of the Changyang clan, even the status of the Jessen kingdom had risen. They had become a kingdom even more well-renowned than the 8 great kingdoms. Although the overall power of the kingdom did not rise quickly, its status was different than before. Suddenly, the sky above the peaceful clan began to violently twist. A space gate quickly formed. Before the people had even emerged, a vast presence surged out like a tidal wave, permeating the entire region and engulfing the entirety of Lore City. Saint Rulers poured out of the space gate one after another soon after. There were over 30 of them in total. They all floated high up in the air with the Changyang clan beneath them. They were the Saint Rulers from the Yuan and Qing branches. They had come through the space gate in the clan without the need of a Saint King. All the people in the city sensed their arrival, because the presence from over 30 Saint Rulers was far too powerful, having even surpassed the presence of a single Saint King. It caused the surrounding air and clouds to churn as the energy of the world was sent into a rampage. It alerted all the people within the city. The Saint Rulers in the forbidden grounds of the Changyang clan sensed that the people had come with hostile intent. They took to the sky as quickly as possible. All the Saint Rulers from the Zhu branch moved together, meeting the Yuan and Qing branches in the air. They looked at them in anger. "So it's you. Why have you come?" A 9th heavenly layer Saint Ruler old man from the Zhu branch heavily questioned. They had severed their connection with the 2 branches long ago, so they were no longer related to one another. Changyang Qingyi coldly smiled. The Changyang clan in Lore City was originally a branch family of our protector clan, so we obviously can come and go as we please. Do we need a reason? What a bunch of lies. The Changyang clan of Lore City was founded by my master, Changyang Zhu Yinkong, single-handedly. Now that master is no longer a member of the protector clan, the Changyang clan of Lore City is obviously not connected to the protector clan in any way or fashion. Uncle Chang flew up from below in the attire of a caretaker. He spoke forcefully. He had already learned that Changyang Qing Yin wanted to take the saint's fruit from the 4th young master, so he had caused the 2 other branches to battle the Zhu branch. As a result, he did not have a good opinion of the Changyang protector clan. Coupled with the fact that he was a Saint Ruler now, he stood on equal level with the people there. It was obvious that he possessed the confidence to speak. Chapter 13-16. Family Conflict 2. Since when did you have the right to meddle in the affairs of your masters? Chang Wuji, do you really think that you stand on the same level as us just because you're a Saint Ruler now? A Saint Ruler from the Yuan branch coldly said to Chang Wuji. Chang Wuji, don't forget your status. You were only a dog that was adopted by the protector clan. If the dog bites his master, the master can kill it at any time. Another Saint Ruler from the Qing branch called out. He spoke with a cold voice, looking at Chang Wuji like he was looking at a servant. They were descendants of the protector clan, so they possessed a natural sense of supremacy and arrogance. Meanwhile, Chang Wuji was of low birth, so even after becoming a saint ruler, he still did not catch the eyes of the saint rulers from the Protector clan. The dozen or so saint rulers from the Zhu branch remained with neutral expressions. None of them said anything. They were not close with Chang Wuji, so they did not speak for him. Below, Chang Yangba and the elderly members of the clan all became extremely furious when they saw Uncle Chang being abused. If they possessed the strength, they would definitely charge up and cut the people cursing at Uncle Chang into pieces. Although Uncle Chang was only the caretaker of the Changyang clan, his status in the clan was extremely great, not to mention the fact that he was now a saint ruler and no longer a heaven saint master. His status had risen yet again because of that. These people have gone too far by abusing Uncle Chang like this. It's a pity that Xianger's not present, or these people would have gotten more than they bargained for today, Chang Yangba said through gritted teeth. He had paled from his anger. Beside him, Bai Yintian Yufengyan, Ling Long and Bai Yushuang were the same as him. Uncle Chang had been the caretaker of the clan for several centuries now. He cared for every single member of the clan very much. He diligently dealt with all the miscellaneous matters of the clan as the caretaker and never complained, which was why no one could rival his prestige within the clan. Everyone loved him, and after becoming a saint ruler, he maintained his position as caretaker, basically becoming the first saint ruler caretaker on the entire continent. He did not change at all with his increase in strength. Thus, the people from the clan held even more respect and loved him even more. As a result, virtually everyone in the clan had become angered by the Yuan and Qing branches' words. Only the people of the Zhu branch remained the same, since they did not have close ties with Uncle Chang. The saint ruler ancestors of the Zhu branch don't seem to be willing to speak for Uncle Chang. We're outnumbered, so I hope nothing happens to Uncle Chang, Bai Yintian said with some worry. She was very worried about Uncle Chang's safety. Although he was a saint ruler now, he was only at the first heavenly layer. A sliver of determination immediately appeared in Chang Yangba's eyes with that. With a flip of his hand, he pulled out 2 fist-sized rocks from his space ring and said through gritted teeth, I have the quaking thunders that Xianger left behind. Xianger said that these quaking thunders have been charged by Saint Kings. Although they might not harm Saint Kings, they are more than enough to deal with Saint rulers. If they dare to touch Uncle Chang, then I'll do it. In the sky, Chang Wuji kept his cool as if he did not hear the insults at all. He said, Correct. I was indeed picked off the streets by Master, and I was taken to the Protector clan. If you want to call me a dog, then I only have one master, and that is Changyang Zhu Yinkong. This has nothing to do with you people of the Yuan and Qing branches. The saint ruler from the Qing branch became utterly furious with that. He yelled out, How dare you speak like that to us as a mere dog? I, Changyang Qing Shan, said that if a dog dares to bite his master, the master can make the dog disappear forever. Changyang Qing Shan immediately attacked Chang Wuji. He used his abilities as a saint ruler and fused with the surrounding space, appearing before Chang Wuji in a single moment through the use of spatial force. Energy surged in his hand as he used a secret technique to condense a small green mountain, sending it toward Chang Wuji. The faces of the saint rulers from the Zhu branch hardened when they saw this green mountain. They recognized that this was Changyang Qing Shan's famed technique, the seal of the green mountain. The seal of the green mountain was an adaptation of an ancient secret technique by Changyang Qing Shan. It was not a saint-tier battle skill, but it was not weaker than one. Changyang Qing Shan used his power as a 7th heavenly layer saint ruler to cast the seal of the green mountain. Chang Wuji would end up extremely injured, if not dead, if he was struck by it with his strength at the 1st heavenly layer. A saint ruler from the Zhu branch immediately wanted to stop Changyang Qing Shan. Although he was not close to Chang Wuji at all, he could not just watch him lose his life. However, the people from the Qing and Yuan branches seemed to have been prepared. They all moved and stopped the saint rulers from the Zhu branch, preventing them from interfering. Chang Wuji's face changed. He had never expected Changyang Qing Shan to attack him in such a brazen fashion. He was also a saint ruler now, but he understood just how much weaker he was. He dared not to accept the attack head-on, and dodged as fast as he could. However, the space around him suddenly froze, immobilizing him and causing him to pause. Chang Wuji sank inside. He immediately bellowed out as powerful energy surged out of him, shattering the frozen space. However, he lost the perfect opportunity to dodge with the delay. All he could do was cast a bar of energy around him and allow the attack to hit that. Bang! The seal viciously struck his chest, and with a heavy sound, blood spurted into the air from Chang Wuji's mouth. He was thrown far away. Uncle Chang! The people in the Changyang clan all cried out. Changyang Ba was absolutely furious. At that moment, an extremely powerful killing intent rapidly rose up in Changyang Ba, filling his entire chest. Without any hesitation, he threw his two 15th star quaking thunders at Changyang Qingshan. Changyang Ba dismissed all his thoughts. He did not think about the consequences that the two quaking thunders could cause at all. He only had one thought in mind, and that was to avenge Uncle Chang. Quaking thunders originated from the Sea Realm, but a few of them would make their way to the Tianyuan continent, so all the saint rulers recognized what they were. They immediately revealed different expressions and dodged in all directions, moving away from the quaking thunders as quickly as possible. The saint rulers from the Zhu branch all landed in the clan, and one of them charged into the back courtyard as quickly as possible. Shortly afterward, a transparent barrier silently appeared, engulfing the entire clan. This was a barrier that Changyang Zhu Xiao had secretly cast down. Only the saint rulers of the Zhu branch knew of its existence. Even Changyang Ba hadn't been told about it. Chapter 13-17. Family Conflict 3. Changyang Ba returned to his senses after throwing the quaking thunders. His face immediately changed as he muttered inside. Oh no! This was because the two quaking thunders he had thrown were of the 15th star, equivalent to strikes from 4th heavenly layer Saint Kings. Attacks from Saint Kings were terrifying. Even if they exploded several hundred meters in the sky, the ripples could still flatten the entire Changyang clan. After all, the Changyang clan was not a capital city of the continent, let alone Flame City. It was an extremely ordinary clan, so it was unable to defend itself at all. However, Changyang Ba finally calmed down a little when he saw the transparent barrier being erected in the air. There were around a dozen saint rulers from the Zhu branch around as well. If they cast down a barrier together, it might not have been able to stop the ripples of the quaking thunders entirely, but it could minimize the damage. The extremely powerful ripples of energy from the two quaking thunders followed after Changyang Qingyin, while all the saint rulers of the two branches fled frantically. All of them had become ghastly pale from fright, because they could tell that these two quaking thunders were of the 15th star from the energy inside. Once they erupted, they would be equivalent to an attack from a 1st heavenly layer Saint King at the very least. They could even be more powerful. The saint rulers of the two branches fled from the quaking thunders as quickly as possible. None of them wanted to come into contact with them, and Changyang Qingshan was no exception either. He quickly shot back with a pale face. He was both surprised and angered. He was surprised over how such a weak person in the Changyang clan possessed a high-quality quaking thunder, and he was angered over the fact that a mere branch clan member dared to throw a quaking thunder at him, an elder of the Protector clan. That was an unforgivable offense. However, Changyang Qingyin dismissed all his thoughts very quickly. His gaze became horrified and filled with fear. He had discovered that the two quaking thunders had locked onto his presence. They had been tailing behind him the entire time. No matter how he fled, it was useless, and the energy within the quaking thunders was rapidly beginning to activate, so they moved faster and faster. No! Changyang Qingshan yelled in fright as he became horrendously pale. He could at least survive, albeit half alive, against just a single 15th star quaking thunder. But it was extremely likely that he would die if he had to take on two quaking thunders at the same time. Suddenly, Changyang Qingyin changed directions and flew in the direction with the most people. The two quaking thunders began to shine with bright, white lights as they tailed behind him with terrifying pulses of energy. They moved faster and faster. Changyang Qingyin, you bastard! Don't follow us. Go somewhere else. Fuck. Changyang Qing Yin. We've never offended you. So don't draw them over here. The saint rulers from the two branches were exasperated. They all cursed his ancestors as they desperately scattered. Changyang Qing Yin was bitter. He had only punished a rude person. He had never thought that that punishment would end with him being pursued by two 15th-star quaking thunders. If he had known this earlier, he would have never laid his hands on Chang Wuji, even if he was a much bolder person. The quaking thunders have locked onto my presence, so I can't shake them off. If you don't help me block them, I'll probably die here today, Changyang Qing Yin explained as he secretly rejoiced inside. It was fortunate that the person who had thrown the quaking thunders was not strong, so their initial velocity was slow, which was why he was able to flee for so long despite being pursued by these quaking thunders. However, as the energy within them was activated, their speed would increase as well. At that time, even Saint Kings would not be able to avoid even one of them, let alone him, a mere saint ruler. Changyang Qingyi halted and cried out, "Don't panic, everyone. We have over 30 saint rulers with us. Let's work together to stop the two quaking thunders. Everyone gather near me immediately." Everyone's eyes immediately lit up. If a single person were to attempt to stop the quaking thunders, it would indeed be extremely dangerous. But if they all worked together, these two 15th-star quaking thunders were not so terrifying anymore. All the saint rulers began to gather near Changyang Qingyu at almost the same time. They all created a powerful barrier of energy, as Changyang Qing Shan charged over with the two quaking thunders. The quaking thunders collided with the barrier, and they exploded simultaneously. The explosion produced a deafening boom, as violent streams of energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings, causing space to twist and crack. A powerful ripple of energy shot down, but it was stopped by the barrier Changyang Zuxiao had cast down, allowing the Changyang clan to safely endure. All the saint rulers from the two branches displayed various complexions, and became rather pale. The barrier they had created together had collapsed. They had all cast down another barrier around themselves as quickly as possible, before retreating from the surge of energy that the quaking thunders had released. Changyang Qing Shan was the most miserable. The quaking thunders had locked onto his presence, so he suffered the heaviest attack. Blood sprayed from his mouth as he shot off like a broken kite. He constantly spat out blood. He managed to stay alive, but he was very severely injured. The two quaking thunder expanded across a very large area, so most of Lore City was affected. Countless structures collapsed, reducing the entire city to a mess. There were a lot of people who became injured, but fortunately, many people in the city knew that things were going to happen in the Changyang clan, so they had all made preparations, and thus no one died. A while later, the ripples of energy from the quaking thunders finally settled. The Changyang clan below emerged undamaged, while the saint rulers from the Qing and Yuan branches gathered together in the air. They were dirty and in horrible conditions. Changyang Qing Shan had lost his ability to levitate due to his injuries, so he was carried by two other saint rulers from the Qing branch. They were all sheet white. They had set out with such a large party to regain their lost dignity, to vent their unhappiness from being trapped for so long, and to get the people from the Zhu branch to return to the clan. They had never thought that they would get more than they bargained for. Changyang Ba finally let out a breath of relief, after seeing that the Changyang clan was fine. He pulled out another two quaking thunders from his space ring, and furiously roared at the group of people in the sky. "I have quite a few quaking thunders here. Those two before were 15th-star ones. I'm holding 16th-star quaking thunders in my hands right now. If you want to act so brazenly, I won't be holding back." Not only did they insult Uncle Chang, they've injured him as well. We cannot spare them today. Bai Yuntian furiously added, and also pulled out two 16th-star quaking thunders from her space ring. They were also of the 16th star. Jianshen had obtained quite a few 15th and 16th star quaking thunders from the Sea Realm, several at the peak of the 16th star. He had basically left all of them with his family. The people from the Qing and Yuan branches revealed extremely ugly expressions when they saw Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian pull out four 16th star quaking thunders. Even the saint rulers from the Zhu branch leaped in fright with a shiver. Even in the sea realm, 16th star quaking thunders were extremely rare. So why were there so many here? The saint rulers from the two branches became rather offended and embarrassed. This was definitely an unprecedented matter. A mighty protector clan was being threatened by a mere branch clan. If this was broadcasted, they would no longer possess the dignity to see anyone in the future. Changyang Qingyi's complexion became terrifyingly pale. He stared coldly at the group of people below and icily said, "This matter will never end after injuring an elder of our Qing branch. We can't do anything to you, but there will obviously be someone who can." With that, Changyang Qingyi formed a seal with his two hands. He used a secret message to communicate what had happened here to Changyang Qingyin. The protector clans possessed many secret techniques, and there were plenty that had been made for communication. What Changyang Qingyi used was soul communication. The technique allowed someone to send a message to the soul of another person. The only flaw was that the process was rather complicated. Chapter 13:18, Family Conflict 4. Many saint kings and a few saint emperors hovered above the ruins of Mercenary City. They paid close attention to the underground tunnel, waiting for any changes to occur. Several dozen divine halls hovered nearby and radiated with vast presences. Above Mercenary City, the 10 protector clans and a few powerful ancient clans had all mobilized their divine halls. They rested inside to gather strength so that they be in peak condition. None of them knew when the next attack from the world of Forsaken Saints would come, but all of them believed that the attack would definitely be even more terrifying than before, where even saint emperors might appear. They all became extremely heavy-hearted because of this, and they were not in the mood to enter the miniature world of Mercenary City, either, since they just worried far too much. Not every saint king there was selfless, but they all understood one thing, which was that the world of Forsaken Saints was just far too powerful. If they could not stop them from entering this world, the 4 races would all suffer the threat of completely dying off. At that time, they would not be able to avoid death themselves either. As a result, many of the saint kings from the 4 races had gathered to guard the tunnel, not for their own race or for their descendants, but for themselves. In one of the divine halls floating in the sky, Changyang Qingyin, Changyang Qingjuri, Changyang Qingyinfeng, Changyang Yuan Zhenghua, and Changyang Yuan Wuji sat together like statues. Suddenly, Changyang Qingyin's face twitched as his eyes snapped open. Immediately, his eyes shone with an almost visible light, disturbing the space in front of him and causing it to twist slightly. The 4 other great elders simultaneously opened their eyes. They had been cultivating, but they paid attention to the outside world at all times. They obviously sensed the change that occurred within Changyang Qingyin. Changyang Qingyin stood up as his face darkened in a terrifying manner. He said, "Changyang Qingshan has been injured. The saint rulers from our Qing and Yuan branches have been humiliated by the branch clan in Lore City. If they've gone too far. Do they really think they can abuse our protector clan in such a fearless manner, just because they have the protection of the 3 magical beasts?" Changyang Qingyin looked around at the 4 other great elders and growled, "Let's go to Lore City of the Jesson Kingdom immediately." Changyang Qing put the divine hall away before leaving with the 4 other saint kings. Although their departure had alerted everyone present, no one stepped forward to stop them, because none of the saint kings present had the right to meddle with other people's business. At the same time, Changyang Zhu Xiao, Changyang Zuyin Xiao, and Changyang Zuyin sat together in another divine hall in the same manner. Suddenly, Changyang Zhu Xiao slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was deep as he looked in the direction that Changyang Qingyin and the others had set off in. He slowly said, "The people of the clan have sent me a message. The people of the Qing and Yuan branches have created quite a mess in Lore City. Changyang Qingyin and the others have just departed as well, so they're probably going to Lore City. Let's go back and have a look as well. I've cast a barrier to protect the clan, but it won't be enough to stop Changyang Qingyin." Lore City was over 1,000,000 kilometers away from Mercenary City, but Saint Kings only needed a single instant to traverse this distance. A space gate ripped open near the city soon after Changyang had sent the message. A tremendous presence wildly surged out before anyone could emerge from it, causing the space there to freeze. Even the surrounding energy of the world fell silent. Afterward, the 5 great elders emerged from the space gate with Changyang at the lead. When they saw the saint rulers from the 2 branches in horrible conditions, their faces immediately sank. Sharp killing intent filled their eyes. They then saw the bloodied Changyang, who was basically hanging off 2 other saint ruler, and they became even more enraged. How dare they? They're just a mere branch clan, yet they dared to injure an elder of my Qing branch. Changyang immediately fell into an utter rage as he roared out, causing the energy around him to churn. He had almost snapped. Changyang arrived before Changyang Shan with a single flash, and carefully examined his wounds. His complexion became even more ugly, and he growled. Qing Shan's extremely heavily injured. He's basically clinging on to half of his life. He'll need several years to achieve a full recovery, even with the wondrous medicines in the clan. This branch clan is getting bolder and bolder. Before, that mongrel Jianshen worked with foreigners to seal up the Changyang clan. And we only broke out in the end because the Grand Elder of Mercenary City stepped in. Now the people of this branch clan dare to beat Qing Shan into such a shape. They cannot be forgiven. I will be flattening this place today. Changyang Juri coldly decided. His gaze toward the clan was filled with heavy killing intent. He then pushed his hand toward the structures below. Changyang Juri's attack drew in vast amounts of energy from the surroundings. The invisible energy gathered in his hand, before forming a palm several hundred meters in length. It fell toward the ground at an extremely fast rate. The people from the Changyang clan became rather pale. As the palm fell, they all felt an extremely great pressure descend from above, limiting their breathing, and causing their chests to feel abnormally tight. A saint ruler from the Zhu branch immediately activated the barrier in the forbidden grounds of the clan. A transparent barrier silently appeared, blocking Changyang Juri's attack. It did not waver at all as it shone with hazy light. Changyang Juri's attack actually failed to shake it at all. Changyang Yun coldly sneered, and took a step forward. He appeared before the barrier as if he had teleported and coldly said, I never thought that Changyang Xiao would treat this clan with some importance, seeing how he cast down such a powerful barrier to protect this place. Looks like he's truly reached great perfection now. But a mere barrier is not enough to stop me. Let me smash through this barrier. Changyang Yun's face became filled with heavy killing intent. He hated Changyang Xiao very much. If Changyang Xiao had not stopped him back in the miniature world of the Changyang clan, he would have obtained the saint's fruit long ago, and would probably have become a saint emperor right now. Jian Chun would not have been able to escape either, let alone returning with the magical beasts to seal up the clan. Right now, Changyang Yin had completely made up his mind to destroy this place, so he could vent his anger. It was a sensitive period of time with the invasion of the other world, so he did not fear the 3 magical beasts, if they personally came, since there would be other people who would appear to stop them. Just when Changyang Yin wanted to start his attack, another space gate ripped open nearby. Changyang Xiao, Changyang Yin, and Changyang Yin had all hurried back from Mercenary City. Changyang Yin, do you still plan to be obstinate and make another foolish mistake? Changyang Xiao immediately bellowed out when he realized Changyang Yin's intentions. He arrived in front of Changyang Yin with a flash to stop him from destroying the barrier. Chapter 1319. Family Conflict 5. Changyang Xiao blocked Changyang Yin, and as a result, Changyang Yin's face immediately darkened. His expression sank as he glared at Changyang Xiao. He had never expected him to arrive so quickly, and now that Changyang Xiao was present to stop him, it would not longer be as easy for him to viciously punish the members of the branch clan. Okay, good. Very well. Changyang Xiao, your clansmen of the Zhu branch are getting bolder and more fearless. First you declared you would depart from the Protector clan. Then you work with foreigners to seal up the clan. And now you've allowed a member of the Zhu branch to injure an elder of the Qing branch, heavily wounding Changyang Qing Shan. Do you really think that you can now look down on everyone else, just because you have the magical beasts on your side, and that you can provoke the dignity of our protector clan time and time again? Changyang Qingyan coldly questioned. A tremendous presence began to radiate from him as he spoke, forming an invisible mountain that crashed down on Changyang Zushao. He showed signs that he was about to engage in a great battle with Changyang Zushao. Changyang Zushao's face remained the same. He stood there unmoving, like an ancient tree rooted firmly to the ground. He had truly reached great perfection now, having reached the apex of Saint King. He was at the same level as Changyang Qingyan now. Qingyan, we all know exactly what happened, so quit spouting lies. You asked for everything that happened before. If you didn't lust over the saint's fruit, and attempt something so condemning, would any of those things have happened later on? I'd like to ask you instead, why has Changyang Qingyan become injured? Why have your people of the Qing and Yuan branches appeared here? Changyang Zushao emotionlessly replied. He was very disappointed by the actions of the two branches. Great elders, we have appeared here because we wanted the people of the Zhu branch to return to our protector clan. Although our clan is divided into 3 branches, we were all connected with one another. We were one big family. So if we split just like this, it will enact a heavy loss on the clan. Our generation would become eternally condemned. How would we be able to face our ancestors after we pass away? We never thought that we would be provoked by a mere servant right when we arrived here. Which Qing Shan was then heavily injured by a quaking thunder from a member of the branch clan. If we hadn't interfered, we would have never been able to see Qing Shan again, Changyang Qingyi said. He spoke in a righteous manner in the beginning, before immediately becoming sorrowful when he mentioned Changyang Qing Shan. He blamed the people from the branch clan. Cut the bullshit. It was you who injured Uncle Chang first, Changyang Ba loudly retorted. He was extremely confident. Although the great elders of the 2 other factions were present, he felt no fear at all. At this moment, Chang Wuji flew over from afar in a tottering manner. He was covered with blood and his face was pale. His injuries were just as heavy, almost falling mid-flight several times. Uncle Chang! The group of people in the clan cried out in both sorrow and joy. They felt sorrow for Uncle Chang's injuries, but they were joyful over the fact that he was still alive. Changyang Zushao waved his hand, and a vast amount of energy in the surroundings immediately gathered, gently wrapping around Chang Wuji and delivering him into the clan. He gently said, "Heal first. With me here, no one will be able to harm a single one of you." Although Changyang Zushao spoke very softly, his voice was filled with dominance, causing Changyang Qingyan's complexion to become extremely horrible. Chang Wuji politely bowed to Changyang Zushao before immediately sitting down to heal. Bai Yuntian began to use her abilities as a radiant saint master beside him, but since her class was not high, the effects were not as obvious on a saint ruler like Chang Wuji. Changyang Ba also shoveled large amounts of radiant spirit pills into his mouth from his space ring, immediately causing him to be enveloped by a thick layer of radiant saint force. They were class 6 radiant spirit pills. Jian Chen had made a large box of them before, and had given them all to his family. You've already injured Changyang Qing Shan regardless of everything. Changyang Zushao, you have to give me an explanation today, or I swear that I will not step down over this matter. Changyang Qingyan coldly responded. He did not give in at all. The protector clan had been humiliated, and this could not continue. Otherwise, they would not even be able to show themselves before the other organizations of the continent. Changyang Qingyan, I don't fear you. You may have more Saint Kings than us, but if we do end up fighting, we'll both suffer heavy casualties. Leave and never come back, said Changyang Zushao nonchalantly, but his words became exceptionally unpleasant when Changyang Qingyan heard them. Not only was it a threat, he was looking down on them. Changyang Qingyan became utterly furious, and his hair began to wildly dance about, like an angered lion. He laughed aloud. Heavy casualties? Changyang Zushao, aren't you overestimating us a little too much? I'll show you exactly how I will defeat your clansmen of the Zhu branch today. Changyang Qingyan immediately departed through a space gate after his sarcastic remarks. Several emperor armaments were stabbed into the ground in Mercenary City. They were of all different shapes and sizes, but all of them radiated with a pressing presence without any exceptions, enough to cause Saint Kings to shiver inside. The emperor armaments were all clan treasures of the protector clans. They had placed them there, without any fear of them being stolen, since the weapons could only be controlled by a member of the clan. Changyang Qing Yun returned to Mercenary City in a mighty manner, and used a secret technique to draw the emperor armament of the Changyang clan. Afterward, he departed through another space gate, alerting all the Saint Kings, and causing them to glance over. What is Changyang Qing Yun doing? Has something happened with how furious he seems? The Grand Elder of Mercenary City muttered in doubt. Many people had similar thoughts. As that all happened, Changyang Zhu Yingkong sat within a mountain in a vast mountain range far away. The powerful and pure energy around him pulsed, causing the surrounding space to gently tremble. Changyang Zhu Yingkong's figure distorted in and out of obscurity within the cave. This was not only because of the distortions in the surrounding space, but he had also truly fused with the space there, becoming one with it. His comprehension over the mysterious of the world, and his grasp over spatial force, had reached a completely new level. It was undergoing a qualitative metamorphosis. Chapter 1320. Yungkong becomes a Saint King. Changyang Yungkong's talent was extremely great, but it had been sealed up by the great elders of the Changyang clan together, preventing him from ever reaching sainthood. But even with that being the case, the breakthrough occurred uncontrollably several times back on Three Saint Island, conflicting with the seal in his head, and torturing him in an excruciating fashion. If it were not for the heavenly enchantress' matchless accomplishments in the way of the zither, that allowed her to send him into a slumber, he would have passed away long ago. Afterward, the seal in his head was removed because of Jian Chen. With his talent, his cultivation immediately surged. Coupled with Xiao Ling's assistance in personally invoking the mysteries of the world, the mysteries were presented in the clearest fashion possible right in front of him, allowing his strength to skyrocket. It increased at an unbelievable rate, allowing him to reach the peak of Saint Ruler, after only recently becoming one a few short years ago. Changyang Zhu Yingkong sat in the cave like an old monk in meditation. He was solemn and showed no other emotions. The space around him rippled in an even more unstable manner like water, while powerful energy surged from his body from time to time, causing the ground to crack like a web. Not only was Changyang Zhu Yingkong's comprehension of the mysteries of the world deepening with every moment, undergoing a qualitative metamorphosis, even the energy within him was strengthening, becoming more and more powerful and pure. Suddenly, the distorted space around him stopped, and even the energy within him stabilized. At that moment, everything calmed down and his surroundings fell silent, as if the entire world had descended into silence in that single moment. It also seemed like time had stopped while the energy of the world around him stopped flowing as well. The odd situation lasted for a short while. Suddenly, a tremendous presence began to radiate from Changyang Zhu Yingkong, sweeping out like a storm, and engulfing the entire mountain range. At the same time, an even more tremendous presence erupted from Changyang Zhu Yingkong. Like a flash flood, it violently surged out in all directions. Boom! The mountain Changyang Zhu Yingkong was residing in erupted, disintegrating into rocks that splayed out in all directions. He remained floating at the same altitude in the same sitting posture, as the energy erupted from him uncontrollably, wreaking havoc on the surroundings. At that moment, the calm sky suddenly began to churn. The energy surged into the sky like a flood, obliterating the layer of clouds above. Soon afterward, a layer of rainbow clouds silently appeared in the sky. They shone with a colorful and beautiful light, illuminating the entire region. They were 7-colored rainbow clouds, and they silently expanded in all directions. They engulfed a radius of several 100,000 kilometers, making all the saint rulers in that area envious and eager. This was because they all knew that this was the sign of a 9th heavenly layer, Saint Ruler, breaking through to Saint King. Reaching Saint King did not only mean an increase in strength, elevating the person to the apex of the continent, It also meant an increase in longevity. Saint rulers only possessed a lifespan of 3,000 years. And even with heavenly resources, they could only live for an additional 200 years at most. However, reaching Saint King would directly increase one's lifespan to 6,000 years. From two other regions within the mountain range, Huang Tianba and Yang Ling emerged from cultivation. They both looked up at the sky. Changyang Zuyunkong's talent really is terrifying. A few years ago he was nowhere near as strong as me, yet he's reached Saint King before me. Huang Tianba mumbled emotionally. He faintly smiled because of the joy he felt knowing Changyang Zuyunkong was becoming a Saint King. I need to work hard as well. My talent may not be as impressive as Changyang Zuyunkong, but I can't fall too far behind, or that's just far too embarrassing, Huang Tianba then said. He was also at the 9th heavenly layer right now, only requiring a final step to break through. On the other side, Yang Ling stared at the rainbow clouds in the sky with mixed emotions. He could still clearly remember that when he was cultivating with Changyang Zuyunkong back in Mercenary City, Changyang Zuyunkong was only a saint ruler of the 1st heavenly layer. Yet he had already become a Saint King after so little time. On the other hand, his strength had not increased at all. He remained a 6th cycle Heaven Saint Master. My talent is horrible. The young master has given me such a great opportunity, yet I've still failed to reach Saint Ruler. I've really failed to live up to his wishes. There's no chance I will reach Saint King in this life. Yang Ling gently sighed. He became rather dejected. All fighters wished to see themselves become even more powerful. Changyang Zuyunkong was only several tens of thousand kilometers from Mercenary City, so the rainbow clouds obviously reached there. However, there were already 2,000 Saint Kings from various races that had gathered there, and there were even a few Saint Emperors. The breakthrough obviously did not catch the attention of many people. Back at the Changyang clan, Changyang Qingyun's sudden departure made a lot of people sigh in relief. The people who had no idea what was happening thought that Changyang Qingyun had permanently left, and started to secretly praise Changyang Zuzhao's might since he had driven away an enemy as soon as he arrived. Only Changyang Zuzhao, Changyang Zuyinshao, and Changyang Zuyin remained with very pale faces. They had already thought of some things that might end up happening after hearing what Changyang Qingyun had said before he left. Before they could delve into the matter, a space gate ripped open again, and Changyang Qingyun emerged. He had arrived with an Emperor armament that was over 20 meters in length in his hands. The Emperor armament immediately radiated with a powerful might as soon as it appeared. Its presence swept through the surroundings and made everyone shiver. Just the appearance of the Emperor armament, without even displaying its powers, had caused the surrounding space to ripple, as if it were going to shatter at any moment. Changyang Qingyun stood where the hilt of the sword was, and held onto it with both of his hands. His hair and clothes were ruffled despite the windless sky, as a tremendous ripple of energy radiated from him. He was currently using his full strength to stabilize the Emperor armament. The 4 other great elders simultaneously charged over, joining with Changyang Qingyun, to control the Emperor armament together. The ancestral weapon of a protector clan was just far too powerful. Even Saint Kings at great perfection would struggle to control it by themselves. They needed several people to work together. Changyang Zuzhao, I'd like to see how you will block the Emperor armament. Do you really think your Zhu branch has the ability to achieve mutual defeat? Changyang Qingyun laughed at the sky. He was already confident he would achieve victory now that this weapon was in his hands. The 3 Saint Kings of the Zhu branch became extremely ugly. Even the Saint rulers beneath looked the same. Changyang Qingyun, I never thought you'd become so mad that you'd use the Emperor armament against us. Have you forgotten the ancestral teachings? They've clearly recorded that the protector clans can only use the Emperor armaments when the continent faces a severe threat, or when the protector clan is facing a life or death situation. Changyang Zuzhao cried out in a heavy voice as his expression became extremely horrible. Chapter 1321, Yonglai 1. Since ancient times, we 3 branches have always been one big family. We've gone through countless eras like that. But your Zhu branch wants to leave and create their own clan. The descendant of the branch clan, Changyang Zhu Xiangtian, has even worked with foreigners against the clan, sealing us within our miniature world. This is treachery. If we give you some more time, you'll become even bolder, and you'll probably do things that are even more outrageous. You may even try replace us as a protector clan. Changyang Qingyun coldly replied. He had not only come to the Changyang clan to deal with the conflict that had erupted between the three branches, but he had also come to vent his suppressed anger as well. When the 5 great elders and the various clansmen had been trapped in the miniature world, they had accumulated an incredible amount of anger and hatred. Basically, all 5 great elders pondered over how they would take revenge on the people of the Zhu branch while they were trapped in there. It was just that they had quickly been invited to Mercenary City due to the world of Forsaken Saints, when the new Grand Elder of Mercenary City had come with over 20 other Saint Kings to smash through the seal, so they had to delay the day they would take revenge. Now that the conflict between the branches had occurred, the great elders obviously obtained the opportunity to take revenge, as well as gained a reason to do so this time. Changyang Qingyun, so much for being a great elder of a protector clan. You actually have no conscience. You clearly wanted to take the saint's fruit from Xiangtian to become a saint emperor, yet you keep making up excuses to make it more confusing. Wasn't the reason why our protector clan became like this all because of your greed? Changyang Zhu Yinshao responded with a heavy voice. His voice was filled with anger. Changyang Qingyun did not become flushed from embarrassment. Instead, he rebuked righteously. Have you forgotten about the rules of the protector clans? The rules clearly state that all descendants of the clan must treat the clan as top priority. As a member of the clan, Changyang Zhu Xiangtian obviously has to abide to the rules. It's an extremely big deal that he obtained the saint's fruit, so he obviously has to hand it over. Changyang Zhu Shao, Changyang Zhu Yin Shao, and Changyang Zhu Yin became extremely furious. They had never thought that Changyang Qingyun would have already turned into a person like this. He seemed like a completely new person compared to before. Changyang Qingyun had never been like this before. However, the temptation of becoming a saint emperor was just far too much. When Jian Shun brought the saint's fruit back to the clan, Changyang Qingyun technically had the right to consume it as the most powerful person in the clan. But to everyone's surprise, Jian Shun refused to hand it over no matter what. In the end, Changyang Qingyun missed this close opportunity of becoming a saint emperor, and was trapped in the clan for a period of time as well. The two matters had a massive impact, which was why he had changed. After all, the saint's fruit had become the only chance at becoming a saint emperor in this age. There were no saint kings who could resist such a great urge. Even Changyang Zhu Yinshao and Changyang Zhu Shao felt themselves waver in front of it in the past, but they did not lose themselves like Changyang Qingyun and act crazy. The saint's fruit was obtained by Xiangtian with the assistance of the 3 magical beasts, and they even stopped the scheme of the saint emperors from the beast god continent in the end. If it weren't for the 3 of them, the saint's fruit probably would have been taken by the saint emperors, even if it ended up in your hands. As a result, the saint's fruit does not completely belong to Xiangtian, and the clan obviously has no right to take it away. Changyang Zhu Shao calmly berated. Changyang Zhu Shao, cut the bullshit. If you hadn't stopped me before, I would have become a saint emperor already. I will make you pay for what you did back then. Changyang Qingyun bellowed out as madness filled his eyes. He began to control the emperor armament with the 4 other great elders. Immediately, a terrifying ripple of energy radiated from the emperor armament, enough to make the surroundings tremble. It caused the space around it to burst with a single moment, causing cracks to form around the emperor armament, before finally collapsing entirely. The emperor armament was just far too powerful, and the space of the world was not as tough as the space within the miniature world of the protector clans. It lacked the stabilization of the 18 divine halls as well, so the space shattered as soon as the emperor armament was activated. From today on, the Changyang clan will cease to exist here. Changyang Qingyun laughed aloud as the emperor armament was swung at the residences below in attempt to obliterate them. The Changyang clan was only a cluster of extremely ordinary buildings. Changyang Zhu Shao had cast down a protective barrier, but the barrier was insignificant before the emperor armament. It was completely useless. Within the clan all the people paled. Even Changyang Ba, Bai Yuntian, and the saint rulers of the Zhu branch became very nervous. The terrifying presence of the emperor armament had locked onto everyone below, crushing them like it was mountain. They could not avoid it at all. The weaker guards and servants of the clan all fell unconscious, while blood leaked from the corner of their mouths. Their organs had been injured by the pressure of the emperor armament. Changyang Ba, Bai Yuntian, and a few other important figures of the clan were protected by the saint rulers, so the pressure they felt was not as great. In the sky, Changyang Zhu Xiao, Changyang Zhu Yin Xiao, and Changyang Zhu Yin abruptly revealed different expressions. If they let the emperor armament fall, it would probably not just be the Changyang clan that would be annihilated. Even this large city with a population of a few million people would vanish. Reaching Saint Ruler would activate the limit of celestial decay, preventing someone so powerful from committing monstrous sins. If over 1 million people were slain in a single moment, celestial decay would immediately descend, reducing the attacker into a pile of bones no matter how powerful they were. The 3 Saint Kings immediately began to use a secret technique to interfere with the Great Elder's control over the Emperor armament. The Emperor armament could only be controlled with a corresponding secret technique, and only those who had reached Saint King could learn it. They were Saint Kings, so they knew it. Control over the Emperor armament was greatly disturbed, as terrifying energy began to violently pulse out. The sword surged with light, alternating between being dim and being bright. Even its motion came to a halt. Changyang Zhu Xiao, don't you dare take control of the Emperor armament! Changyang Qingyan bellowed, and began to use all he had. Even the 4 other Saint Kings were the same. The Emperor armament violently trembled in the air as energy surged within them in extremely unstable manner. The 3 Saint Kings of the Zhu branch were currently locked in a fight with the 5 Saint Kings from the Yuan and Qing branches. A fight of secret techniques, trying to wrestle away the control of the Emperor armament. Spurt! Changyang Zhu Xiao and the other 2 vomited a mouthful of blood, as their faces paled in a single moment. Soon after, the 5 other Saint Kings vomited a mouthful of blood, as well, while their faces became sheet white, without a shred of blood. Both sides suffered the backlash from the Emperor armament, becoming heavily injured. However, they still did not give up, continuing to fight for control. They all knew that the side that gained control would gain the upper hand. Chapter 1322. Yang Lai 2. At this moment, the Emperor armament suddenly resonated at a clear pitch. The sound lasted for an extremely long time, and it filled the surroundings. However, the facial expressions of the great elders of the Changyang clan hardened when they heard the noise, because the Emperor armament had never produced a sound like that before. It was clearly extremely unusual. But before they could think about anything more, a powerful force suddenly erupted from the Emperor armament like a tsunami. It shattered the space in the surrounding several dozen meters, reducing it to darkness. Changyang Zhu Xiao, Changyang Zhu Yin Xiao, Changyang Zhu Yin, and even the 5 Saint Kings from the other 2 branches vomited blood at the same time. They became extremely heavily injured from the force that had suddenly erupted, and were all sent flying back. Every single one of them became haggard as shock filled their eyes. They stared at the Emperor armament in disbelief. They had suffered from the backlash of the Emperor armament, but it was much more severe than any time in the past. After stabilizing themselves, all of them used the secret technique as quickly as possible to control the Emperor armament. This was where victory lay, but their faces all displayed their surprise, because none of them could regain control over the Emperor armament through the secret techniques. The weapon had completely broken free from their control. All 8 Saint Kings revealed ugly expressions. It was an extremely terrifying matter for the Emperor armament to have broken free. The huge Emperor armament hung in the sky and constantly trembled. It erupted with pulses of terrifying energy as it continued to resonate. The resonating pitch was clear and ear-piercing, like the cry of the Emperor armament. Suddenly, the Emperor armament shot off as a streak of light. It was lightning fast and vanished beyond the horizon in the blink of an eye. Wherever it passed, The space cracked into fragments while its terrifying pressure caused the entire Earth to shake. Oh no, the Emperor armament's flown away. We can't afford to lose it. It's our ancestral weapon. Chase it. Changyang Qingyin was surprised. He no longer paid any attention to the wounds on his body, and immediately chased after it as quickly as he could. The other Saint Kings from the Qing and Yuan branches did not hesitate either. They tailed behind Changyang Qingyin. They fused with the surrounding space. Using spatial force to travel, they moved at a lightning-fast speed. The Emperor armament would affect the stability of the space it passed through, making it impossible for them to create space gates. At the same time, they had no idea where the Emperor armament was flying off to, so space gates were unsuitable as well. They could only fly. Yiyun, you stay here. Yunxiao, let's go check it out. Changyang Zhu Xiao looked back and gave an order to the couple before hurrying off with Changyang Zhu Yunxiao. The Emperor armament crossed many mountains and rivers, traversing several 100,000 kilometers at an unbelievable speed. In the end, it entered a desolate mountain range. The Saint Kings behind it were nowhere to be seen even with their speed. The rainbow clouds in the sky still loomed over the mountain range. Changyang Zhu Yunкong sat in the middle of the air as he stabilized his own level of cultivation, while Huang Tianba stood on a mountain peak several kilometers away to watch over him. At this moment, a terrifying ripple of energy appeared far away, causing the space to constantly shake. The space in the distance had even shattered, turning into darkness. Huang Tianba's face changed as he gazed at that area in interest. His face became extremely stern. The energy ripples were extremely terrifying and powerful. They made him shiver. A streak of light shot into the mountain range, heading for Changyang Zhu Yunкong. It moved far too quickly. It was on the horizon the moment before, yet it had arrived before Changyang Zhu Yunкong by the next. Huang Tianba failed to react to it at all. It was a sword that was 20 to 30 meters long. Its design was simple, but it gave off a terrifying presence as tremendous energy surged from it, causing the surrounding space to ripple. Huang Tianba sighed a breath of relief. He could already tell that the sword that had randomly flown over would not harm Changyang Zhu Yunкong. Instead, it just hovered above his head, resonating at a lengthy pitch. Huang Tianba was afraid that the sword would affect Changyang Zhu Yunкong's cultivation, so he immediately flew over. However, he was stopped by a mysterious force that was formed by the sword as soon as he reached a kilometer away from Changyang Zhu Yunкong. He was unable to move beyond that point with his strength, as a ninth heavenly layer saint ruler. Suddenly, a terrifying glow erupted from the sword. The light surged into the sky and illuminated the entire place, causing the world to light up. The glow enveloped Changyang Zhu Yunкong, but it did not harm him at all. Soon afterward, a wondrous ripple emerged from the sword and entered Changyang Zhu Yunкong's forehead. It seemed to be awakening memories that had been sealed long ago. Huang Tianba stood afar as he watched this unfold in wonder. He had no idea what was happening, but he knew very well that he could do nothing, whether the actions of the sword were beneficial or detrimental to Changyang Zhu Yunкong. Several hours later, Changyang Qingyin and Changyang Zhu Xiao arrived. They became stunned at first glance by the weird scene. Changyang Qingyin roared out and flew toward the Emperor armament first. He used the secret technique at the same time in an attempt to regain control over the Emperor armament. In the end, he too was stopped a kilometer away by a powerful and mysterious force, just like Huang Tianba. He was unable to get through it no matter what, and even his secret technique to control the Emperor armament became useless. What's happening? Just what is happening? Why is the Emperor armament behaving like this? Changyang Qingyin questioned in a panic. The Emperor armament had existed within the Protector clan for countless years, but it had never exhibited behavior like this. It made Changyang Qingyin feel uneasy inside. Changyang Zhu Xiao silently hovered in the air far away. He only stared at the Emperor armament and Changyang Zhu Yunкong as his eyes shone with thought. None of them could find an explanation for the weird scene. Soon afterward, the other Saint Kings arrived as well. They all frowned. No one knew what had happened to the Emperor armament. Why would this happen? The Emperor armament has actually shot off by itself. Probably even Saint Kings at great perfection won't be able to stop it with its force. But why is Changyang Zhu Yingkong unaffected, even though he's only just become a Saint King? This is just far too odd. Changyang Zhu Yingkong can actually remain unscathed by the power of the Emperor Armament. Does this mean that the Emperor Armament's power cannot harm him at all? The Saint Kings from the Yuan and Qing branches revealed their doubts. They all found this to be too odd. No one could explain what was going on. Let's all wait here for now. Once Changyang Zhu Yingkong rouses from his cultivation, we'll ask him what's going on, Changyang Qing Juri said with a heavy voice. Many people had a rather horrible feeling as to what was going to happen. A day later, the glow from the Emperor Armament dispersed, and it became simple and ordinary again. However, its presence still remained. Not only had it failed to weaken, it was even stronger than before. Changyang Zhu Yingkong slowly opened his eyes. An almost tangible spark seemed to shoot from his eyes at that moment. The particular charm he gave off shocked all of them even more. It seemed like the charm that only a ruler who lorded over the world could possess. Huang Tianba and the Saint Kings all stared at Changyang Zhu Yingkong. At that moment, all of them felt the same thing. Changyang Zhu Yingkong seemed to be vastly different from before. With a wave of his hand, the Emperor Armament above Changyang Zhu Yingkong's head immediately shrank to a 1.3-meter-long sword that obediently landed in his hand. It seemed like a docile little lamb. The eyes of the Saint Kings almost popped out from how wide-eyed they had become. The Emperor Armament had always been described as powerful and violent in the Protector clan. It had never behaved in such a docile fashion. This docile behavior made the people from the Yuan and Qing branches feel even more uneasy. Changyang Zhu Yingkong, hurry up and return the Emperor Armament. Are you scheming to steal it from the Protector clan? Changyang Zhu Yingkong, hurry up and spit out everything you just experienced, as well as why you can control the Emperor Armament so easily. Have you learned some secret technique that we don't know? Spit it out right now. The Saint Kings from the Yuan and Qing branches aggressively demanded answers. Changyang Zhu Yingkong smiled. He smiled very resplendently and held the Emperor Armament before his chest. He said, "This belonged to me in the first place, so why should I return it to you? Even if I hand it over, you probably don't have the power to accept it." How dare you, Changyang Zhu Yingkong? Are you trying to revolt? You will not be making it past today, since you plan to steal the Emperor Armament of our Protector clan. Changyang Qingyin exclaimed, and immediately attacked Changyang Zhu Yingkong since he had sensed that the invisible barrier had vanished. Changyang Qingyin was a Saint King at great perfection. Even after becoming heavily injured, he was still powerful. He first used his abilities to freeze the space around Changyang Zhu Yingkong before hurling a palm forward. Tremendous amounts of Saint force surged into his hand, almost enough to shatter the surrounding space. He clearly did not hold back. Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yinxiao revealed different expressions. Changyang Zhu Yingkong had only reached Saint King, so it was impossible for him to be Changyang Qingyin's opponent. When they made a move to stop Changyang Qingyin, they were stopped by the 4 other Saint Kings from the other 2 branches. Changyang Zhu Xiao roared out and struck out with lightning-like speed. He knocked away his 2 opponents before immediately charging after Changyang Qingyin. However, Changyang Qingyin was already extremely close to Changyang Zhu Yingkong. It was too late for Changyang Zhu Xiao to help out. Changyang Qingyin, if you even dare to touch a single hair on Konger, I will never spare you. Changyang Zhu Xiao furiously roared out. Changyang Qingyin's lips curled into a sneer, as he ignored what Changyang Zhu Xiao had said. He pushed the energy gathered in his hand firmly and viciously toward Changyang Zhu Yingkong. Changyang Zhu Yingkong was as calm and steady as a mountain. He did not become flustered at all as mockery flashed through his eyes. Soon afterward, a terrifying energy, enough to make the surroundings tremble, erupted from the Emperor Armament. It immediately smashed through the frozen space. He swung the flat side of the sword at Changyang Qingyin. Changyang Qingyin's entire arm crumpled when it came in contact with the sword. It exploded with blood as his bones shattered before drooping down powerlessly. The Emperor Armament continued on without slowing down at all, and struck Changyang Qingyin in the chest. Spurt. Blood sprayed from Changyang Qingyin's mouth, as the great force hidden inside the attack shattered his organs. He shot off like a loose arrow. He could not resist the power at all. Everyone became stunned by this, and Changyang Zhu Xiao came to a halt. Even Changyang Zhu Yinshao and the other two Saint Kings stopped fighting, as they looked at Changyang Zhu Yinkong in utter shock. How is this possible? Just how is this possible? He can actually control the Emperor armament by himself, and not suffer a backlash. Changyang Yuan Zhenghua said in shock as his heart churned. Changyang Zhu Yinkong, you actually dare to injure great elder Qing Yin. You are disrespecting his authority. Are you trying to rebel? Changyang Qing Juri sternly asked despite feeling the exact opposite inside. He was very fearful of Changyang Zhu Yinkong now. Changyang Zhu Yinkong warmly smiled and said, You shouldn't call me Changyang Zhu Yinkong. From now on, my name is Yang Lai. Chapter 1323. Yang Lai 3. Who cares if you're Changyang Zhu Yinkong or Yang Lai? The Emperor armament in your hands is the ancestral weapon of our protector clan regardless of all that. Although I don't know what secret technique you're using to control the Emperor armament without suffering a backlash, you need to return the ancestral weapon to us no matter what, Changyang Qing Yinfeng said heavily. His face was extremely sunken. He had not treated Changyang Zhu Yinkong's breakthrough with any importance since he would only be at the first heavenly layer. But now that the ancestral weapon was in his hands, his strength was indescribable. Even Changyang Qing Yin, who was at great perfection, was not his opponent, having been injured without being able to resist at all. This caused the people of the Yuan and Qing branches to become flustered. However, Changyang Qing Yinfeng tried to recall where he had heard the name Yang Lai. For some reason, he felt a sense of familiarity, as if he had heard it somewhere before. But he could not recall where at the moment. Changyang Yuan Zhenghua's face slightly changed. His gaze toward Changyang Zhu Yinkong became extremely sharp as he cried out in a low voice. Yang Lai is the founding ancestor of our Changyang clan. How dare you, Changyang Zhu Yinkong? How dare you use the name of our ancestor to do such treacherous things? Immediately, everyone present became startled before coming to an understanding. Changyang Qing Yinfeng was not the only one who had sensed a feeling of familiarity from the name, but Changyang Zhu Xiao and the others also could not recall where they had heard the name before. Changyang Qing Juri laughed out of anger. Okay, good. Your Zhu branch really wants to revolt now. First you break free from the protector clan. Now you want to blaspheme our founding ancestor, Yang Lai, while holding the ancestral weapon. People of the Zhu branch, do you really think that you can replace the protector clan just because you have Jian Chun and a secret technique that can control the Emperor armament from who knows where? Your wild ambitions will never come true. We will definitely call on the world for this matter and get everyone to understand exactly what you, the people of the Zhu branch, have done. The Zhu branch is fated to be cursed by all the people of the world, Changyang Yuan Zhenghua yelled. He was extremely furious. The people of the Zhu branch were becoming bolder and more reckless. Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yinshao looked at each other and frowned. The development of the matter had completely exceeded anything they could have anticipated. They did not know what had happened to Changyang Zhu Yinkong. They felt like he had turned into a completely different person. Changyang Zhu Yinkong warmly smiled as he gently rubbed the Emperor armament. He said, The founding ancestor you speak of is me. I was the one who founded the Changyang clan in the past, and left my righteous Yang sword there. At the same time, I cast down the formation with the 18 divine halls, and the origin formation, so that the clan would never decline. You really have lived up to my hopes. After so many years, the Changyang clan has not declined at all. It is just as glorious as back then. Except this generation is just far too greedy to have ended up fighting with one another just for a saint's fruit. Changyang Zhu Yinkong. Why the Saint Kings of the Yuan and Qing branches became utterly speechless from anger as they pointed at Changyang Zhu Yinkong. In terms of seniority, they had the right to be Changyang Zhu Yinkong's great-grandfather, or even great-great-grandfather. Right now, the youngest descendant in their eyes was actually called himself the founding ancestor. That would mean that they, people who had lived for thousands of years, were his descendants of countless generations. Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yingkong displayed rather ugly expressions, but they said nothing because they could clearly sense that Changyang Zhu Yingkong no longer seemed like the Changyang Zhu Yingkong of the past. Although he looked the same, his presence and charm were completely off. Changyang Zhu Yingkong had just reached Saint King, but he happened to give off an unfathomable feeling. Changyang Qing Yin slowly dragged his injured body over from afar. He said nothing, only staring at Changyang Zhu Yingkong in shock. Disbelief was plastered across his face. He understood that he had just been injured by the Emperor armament, and not Changyang Zhu Yingkong himself. He struggled to believe that Changyang Zhu Yingkong could control the Emperor armament in such an easy fashion. Not only could he use its power at will, he did not suffer a backlash from it at all. A space gate ripped open, and a middle-aged man in tight robes emerged. He carried a shiny silver blade. Strands of powerful energy would pulse from the blade from time to time, surprising the Saint Kings of the Changyang clan. The Saint Kings all looked at the man who had suddenly appeared. Their eyes all narrowed, because they were unable to see through the man at all. The blade he carried in particular even made them violently jerk away. No matter how they looked at it, the blade seemed like the Emperor armament from the Tyrant's Blade School, except it had shrunken by a lot. The man was Gui Haidao. He did not even look at the Saint Kings from the Changyang clan. His eyes were only fixated on Changyang Zhu Yingkong. He happily smiled and said, "Yang Lai, you finally returned." Yang Lai stared at Gui Haidao for a while before a gleam of light flashed through his eyes, and he said, "Gui Haidao, I never thought that you would have awakened already, and you've even recovered your strength to the level of a Saint Emperor." The Saint Kings were immediately surprised by what they had just heard. They all stared at Gui Haidao with wide eyes while shock was plastered across their face. The middle-aged man before them was actually a Saint Emperor? They did not recognize him at all, nor did they know when the middle-aged man had become a Saint Emperor. The 9-colored rainbow clouds did not accompany his breakthrough. Gui Haidao laughed aloud. He was overjoyed after seeing an old friend. He said, "Yang Lai, I only came a few years earlier than you. The energy gathered in your righteous Yang sword is not lesser than my wave-breaking blade. If you use the energy in it to cultivate, you'll reach the peak of Saint Emperor very soon. However, returning to our level of cultivation will be rather difficult. We're unable to reach the origin realm? Why not?" Yang Lai asked. Gui Haidao stopped smiling and became rather stern. He gently sighed. "Yang Lai, your clan doesn't seem to be very peaceful. Deal with that first. I'll wait for you in the Northern Sea." "Sir, may I ask who you are? Why have I never heard of an expert like you on the Tianyuan continent?" Changyang Qing Juri used this opportunity to ask Gui Haidao a question. If it was any other day, Gui Haidao would have never paid any attention to what his juniors asked him. However, an old friend of his had just returned today, so he was in an extremely good mood. He chuckled. "I founded the Tyrant's Blade School. I believe my disciples and grand disciples have told you about it already." With that, Gui Haidao directly departed through a space gate. The Saint Kings of the Changyang clan became stunned. Back when Mercenary City had asked to borrow the Tyrant's Blade School's Emperor armament, the great elders of the Tyrant's Blade School had mentioned that their founding ancestor had returned. Although the 5 great elders had still been trapped in their miniature world back then, they had overheard the news from the conversations of a few other Saint Kings. They all believed that it was just an excuse the Tyrant's Blade School had used to decline lending out their Emperor armament. None of them had thought that their ancestor had actually returned. It was unrealistic that someone who had been dead for 1,000,000 years could return. It was just unbelievable. Changyang Qing Yun, Changyang Qing Yinfeng, Changyang Qing Juri, Changyang Yuan Zhenghua, and Changyang Yuan Wuji. The 5 of you turned on your own clansmen over a saint's fruit. Do you understand your crimes? Yang Lai looked at the 5 great elders as his tone gradually grew cold. A domineering aura appeared. Even Changyang Qing Yun and the others found it difficult to not heed his commands. "Hey, are you really the founding ancestor of our Changyang clan, Yang Lai?" Changyang Qing Yun asked in shock. He could already vaguely sense the answer to his question. Their Emperor armament came from their founding ancestor in the first place, and only the true owner of the weapon would be able to use it so easily. How can that be false? The righteous Yang sword in my hand is the best evidence there is. Back then, all of you thought I was dead, but the truth is different. Back then, the 9 other founders and I were all heavily injured. Our cultivation levels had fallen, and our strength had decreased. Our souls had suffered from an unrecoverable injury. In the end, the 10 of us made up our minds to leave behind a legacy and seal our memories into the saint artifacts. We used a secret technique to cast our souls into samsara, undergoing countless rebirths as we slowly cured the wounds of our souls. It's just that I've only just recovered and returned. That's all, said Yang Lai. Chapter 1324. Returning to the Sea Realm, what Yang Lai said was like a story to the Saint Kings of the Changyang clan. How could such a method exist, where someone could seal their memories in their ancestral weapon, and then cast their soul into samsara? At the very least, with what they knew, there were countless saint emperors that had appeared on the Tianyuan continent in the past, and there were many who had possessed injured souls as well. However, no one had accomplished what Yang Lai did, undergoing countless reincarnations before awakening and recovering his former memories. Do the 5 of you understand your crimes? Yang Lai continued to judge the 5 great elders. Not only did he recover his past memories, he had retained his current memories as well. Changyang Zhu Yinkong. Do you really think that you can use this opportunity to pose as the founding ancestor by using some secret technique to control the emperor armament? Because if that's true, it's wishful thinking. Do you really think that you can trick us with a story you just made up? Do you think we're children? Changyang Qingyin cried out. He decided to not remain in the area any longer. He immediately turned around to flee. He traveled toward Mercenary City as quickly as possible. They had already started to believe the part about him being Yang Lai, but they refused to admit it because they had committed far too many mistakes already. The most severe one among them was sealing up Yang Lai's talent, preventing him from reaching sainthood for the rest of his life. He had almost lost his life because of that. I'd like to see how you flee before me, Yang Lai coldly cried out. He was no longer as warm as before. His face became rather dark. If Changyang Qingyin had admitted to his mistakes out of his own accord, he might have ended up letting him go easily. But not only did he refuse to acknowledge them, he was committing even more mistakes. This angered Yang Lai. Swish! The righteous Yang sword shot out of Yang Lai's hands with a resplendent glow as it pursued Changyang Qingyin at the speed of lightning. It hovered above Changyang Qingyin's head before suddenly expanding, returning to its 30-meter-long size. Afterward, it viciously pushed down with a tremendous presence, sending Changyang Qingyin into the ground. Changyang Qingyin roared out. Powerful energy wildly surged from his body as he attempted to stop the righteous Yang sword. The sword was only 30 meters long at most, but it was even heavier than a mountain. Even with Changyang Qingyin's full strength, Saint King at great perfection, he was unable to stop it. Boom! Changyang Qingyin's hands forcefully dug into the ground and produced a heavy sound. He wanted to blast open the ground, carve out a tunnel, and flee through it. A tremendous and powerful energy leaked out of the righteous Yang sword, causing the ground to become as tough as steel. Changyang Qingyin's strike, which could easily destroy mountains on any other day, actually failed to penetrate the earth at this moment. Seeing how the righteous Yang sword had left Yang Lai's hands, the eyes of the 4 other saints kings from the Qing and Yuan branches immediately lit up. They looked at one another and attacked Yang Lai together. The 4 of them did not hold back at all, striking out with their full strength. They all swung their saint weapons at the weaponless Yang Lai. The saint weapons crisscrossed with one another and formed a huge, invisible net around him, cutting off any path of escape. They then froze the space around him, limiting his movements. Yang Lai was immobilized by the surrounding space, but he did not become flustered at all. His lips curled like he had just heard a joke, and with a flash of light through his eyes, for powerful sword qis erupted from the sword that constrained Changyang Qingyin in the distance. They shot toward the 4 saint kings. The 4 sword qis were shockingly powerful. Every single one of them was 2 meters long and radiated with a dazzling light. Wherever they passed, space would rip open, leaving behind 4 long black gashes. Spurt! 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 The 4 sword chi instantly arrived before the 4 Saint Kings. The 4 of them were unable to dodge the sword chis as they pierced through their chests. The 4 Saint Kings all spat out a mouthful of blood. They were heavily injured. The 4 sword chis had originated from the righteous Yang sword, so their power was incomparable to ordinary attacks. Even though they did not deal life-threatening damage to them, they had caused them unimaginable injuries, basically incapacitating them. You really are getting bolder and bolder to attack me after learning my identity. If it weren't for the fact that you are direct descendants of the Changyang clan, I would have taken your lives long ago, Yang Lai said with a sunken face. The Saint Kings became afraid. They could already tell that their junior, who claimed to be their founding ancestor, and had only just reached Saint King, was at a level they could not resist, even if they were all at great perfection. This was because the Emperor armament was just far too powerful. They believed that he could use all the energy hidden within the weapon. With a wave of his hand, Yang Lai summoned the sword back. However, Changyang Qingyin did not dare to run anymore. The 5 of you return and think about your actions, and make up for the mistakes you made in the past. If it weren't for the fact that the Tianyuan continent is currently facing disaster, and is in need of people, why would I be letting you off so easily? Yang Lai coldly said to the 5 of them. Afterward he looked at Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yinxiao. He could not help but become filled with mixed emotions. After a moment of silence he said, "During the period I'm gone, you can deal with the matters in the clan. After I return, I will give you origin energy, and will do my best to make you Saint Emperors." With that, Yang Lai ripped open a space gate and left. Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yinxiao stood there speechless. At that moment, they were strewn between all sorts of feelings, and had no idea how to describe them. The return of their founding ancestor was something that they should have been happy about, but they did not feel happy at all. The 5 other Saint Kings all left in a disheveled manner. They dragged their bodies toward Mercenary City. They wanted to use the Class 7, Radiant Saint Masters there to heal. However, the 5 of them were not calm. Their founding ancestor had returned, which had greatly shocked them. Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yinxiao returned to the Changyang clan in Lore City, and explained everything that had happened to Changyang Zhu Yiyun. She immediately became stunned after learning that her child was the incarnation of their founding ancestor. She was strewn with emotions while her face reflected her bitter thoughts. I never thought that Changyang Zhu Yingkong would actually be the incarnation of founding ancestor of the Changyang clan. This is just far too shocking. Huang Tianba was speechless as he watched everything unfold on a mountain peak. He then returned to seclusion to undergo his final breakthrough. Back in the Sea Realm, Jian Chun and Tai Ta successfully emerged from the Xianhuang microcosm and returned. They appeared in the huge whirlpool of energy. The worldly ebb lasted for only half a year, and was almost over, so the energy had already thinned. It was nowhere near as abundant as before. "Fantastic, you finally come out. I had thought an accident had happened." The sea goddess' joyful voice rang out as soon as the 2 of them emerged. They saw the sea goddess' illusionary figure floating before them. She was extremely excited. "Esteemed sea goddess, fortunately I've succeeded and collected all the materials to reconstruct your body." Jianshan clasped his hands at the sea gods with a smile, before pulling out the 2 materials for the sea goddess to see. The sea goddess could not help but tremble. She said, Good, good, good. Jianshan, I really haven't misjudged you. You've really completed the task I gave you. This is fantastic. This just fantastic." The sea goddess could not calm down for quite some time now that there was a hope of being revived. This was because she had looked forward for this day for far too long. Chapter 1325. The Tao family's clamor. "Your Majesty, may I ask how I can give you these items?" Jianshan asked. The sea goddess was only a soul right now, so she could not take things with her. The sea goddess calmed down after hearing the question. She said, "Jianshan, First go find the hall master of the sea goddess Hall Yadrium. She has an abyssal crystal with her. The crystal only appears in the Sea of Despair, and she is in possession of the only piece that has made it out. You can find my divine hall in the Sea of Despair through the use of the crystal. The sea goddess vanished after explaining some things to Jianshen. She had left already. Jianshen looked around. He and Tai Ta were currently located in the depths of the whirlpool. If it was as before, it would have been impossible for the two of them to stand there so easily. But now that their strength had skyrocketed in the Xianhuang microcosm, and with the weakening energy, they obviously were no longer affected as much as before. Jianshen stared at the energy that was gradually decreasing in the surroundings. If the Xianhuang microcosm had not appeared, he would have stayed here to cultivate some more. However, he had already reached the fourth layer of the chaotic body in the Xianhuang microcosm, so the amount of energy he needed to reach the fifth layer had increased yet again. The energy of the whirlpool no longer seemed very important to Jianshen. Newbies and the white tiger were still cultivating within the artifact space. They had ingested the various heavenly resources Jianshen had gathered in the Xianhuang microcosm, including the tea made from the comprehension tea leaves. As a result, their strength surged at an extremely great rate during this period of time. Their cultivation was smooth sailing, and the white tiger had formally reached Class 8, becoming a Saint King. However, since he broke through in the Saint artifact, no rainbow clouds formed. Although Newbie's strength didn't increase as quickly at the winged tiger god, he had still reached the fifth heavenly layer, and he was rapidly advancing toward the sixth. Once he did reach the sixth, he would even be able to fight against eighth heavenly layer Saint Kings with his modified Saint tier battle skill. Even against the ninth heavenly layer, he would able to clash a few times using the Saint tier battle skill. Jianshen and Tai Ta left the area and made their way to the Sea Goddess Hall to complete the Sea Goddess request. At the same time, Yadrium, who was hovering in the sky above the ruins of Mercenary City, suddenly said to the people around her, "Everyone, I must return to the Sea Realm for some matters, so I will leave behind the elders of the Sea Goddess Hall. If anything happens, I will hurry back as quickly as possible." With that, Yadrium left in a hurry after handing over a few matters to the experts that had come with her. She returned to the Sea Realm as quickly as possible. 2 days later, Jianshen and Tai Ta arrived at the central divine hall of the Sea Goddess Hall. They met the hall master in a room. Although Yadrium was not enveloped by a layer of blue light right now, making her figure distinct, her face remained blurry. It seemed to be obscured by a layer of mist. "Very good, Jianshen. You really haven't let Her Majesty down by successfully bringing back what she needs. However, the Sea of Despair is no safe place. Even emperors can die there, so I need to make sufficient preparations before we go there. We will leave in 3 days," Yadrium said to Jianshen. She had learned everything from the Sea Goddess while she had made her way back. "All right, then I will return in 3 days, Hall Master," Jianshen said before heading to the territory of the Turtle Clan. He did not stay. It had been half a year since he had been to the Turtle Clan, so he used the opportunity to go back and have a look. He could gain an understanding of the current situation of the Turtle Clan, as well as deal with the enmity that had been formed with the Tao family. Back then, Jianshen was helpless due to the divine hall in the Tao family's possession, but now, both Jianshen and Tai Ta were no weaker than Saint Emperors. The divine hall of the Tao family was basically non-existent to them. However, there was not a single clansman of the Turtle Clan seen in their territory. Though a huge divine hall stood in the center, it was still covered with unhealed cracks, but that did not affect its awe at all. It was the Octaterra divine hall that Jianshen had left behind. It was currently being used, and all the clansmen of the Turtle Clan gathered inside. No one came out. Another huge divine hall stood several kilometers away from the Octaterra divine hall. It was the divine hall in the hands of Tao Jingtian. Tao Jingtian and the Saint Kings that had allianced themselves with him sat on top of the divine hall. They all sneered at the Octaterra divine hall. It had already been several days since they had come. They had fearlessly blocked the main entrance of the Turtle Clan. "Come out, ruler of the Turtle Clan. Today, my Tao family will completely finish what we started with you." Tao Jingtian taunted the Turtle Clan as he sat on the top of the Divine Hall. Ruler of the Turtle Clan, what are you scared? You won't even come out after we've blocked your main entrance. All you know is how to hide in the Divine Hall. Do you plan on hiding for the rest of your life? Ruler of the Turtle Clan, your clan is still a large one in the end. It's one of the peak powers in the Sea Realm, yet you've become cowards right now. If this makes it out, you'll take quite the hit to the name of the Turtle Clan. Jianshen, hurry up and come out to die. How long are you going to hide in the Divine Hall? Ha 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 ha. I never thought that the ruler of the Turtle Clan, famed in the Sea Realm, was someone who feared death. The 5 Saint Kings of the Alliance constantly raised a clamor. They showed no fear, as if victory was in their grasp. They did not dread the Turtle Clan at all, and would even send powerful attacks at the Octaterra Divine Hall from time to time, causing it to rumble. Although the attacks failed to even mark the Divine Hall, it annoyed the clansmen hiding inside very much. Within the Divine Hall, Qing Yishuan, Taido Lanjing, Xan Pian, and Mokas had all paled from anger. They were tempted to immediately charge out to engage in a battle to the death with the Saint Kings of the Tao family. We have to endure their mockery, and not act recklessly. We have the same amount of 16-star experts, but Tao Jingtian is just far too powerful. He can take on 2 or 3 of us all by himself, while the ancestor of the Mashi clan is stronger than any one of us. If we really end up fighting, we'll lose for sure. At the same time, they definitely have something they can count on since they are flaunting themselves in such a fearless manner. So we can't go out no matter what, Lanjing growled. This Tao family is only bold enough to raise a clamor when the ruler isn't present. If the ruler was present, I'd like to see if Tao Jingtian would be brave enough to do the same time. Taido fumed. He was quite furious. Qing Yishuan's face had sunken. She said through gritted teeth, "Where the bloody hell has Jianshen gone? Isn't he taking it a little too easy as the ruler of the Turtle Clan? Always going missing. He even disappears for several months on end. It's almost impossible to contact him. He always throws such a huge mess at us to deal with. Look at it now. We have so many people, yet we've been frightened into the Divine Hall by the Tao family, and all we can do is stay here. We have to endure their insults as well. This sure is the first time I've been forced to go through something like this." Chapter 1326. Return. Every single person hiding within the Divine Hall was fuming. They were furious, yet there was nothing they could do to vent their anger. They were completely helpless due to the current situation. They were not the opponents of the Tao family's Saint Kings, and if they acted too recklessly, it would be extremely easy for them to die. I wonder when the ruler will return. If the ruler returns, he'll definitely make the Tao family pay, said an elder of the Turtle Clan. He felt admiration from the bottom of his heart for Jianshen, because he would never forget that the declining clan had only powered up so quickly under Jianshen's leadership. The reason why the clan possessed 5 16-star experts right now was all because of Jianshen. It had nothing to do with the clan itself. Qing Yishuan raised an eyebrow and disdainfully pouted. She sneered. Tao Jingtian has a divine hall. It's not like you don't know how tough divine halls are. Those that are not saint emperors cannot smash through them. I must admit that Jianshen's talent is extremely impressive, and that he's extremely powerful. However, he still can't do anything to Tao Jingtian since he has a divine hall. Even if he takes on Tao Jingtian himself, he's not his opponent. Under these circumstances, he'll be useless even if he returns. We believe in the ruler. The ruler is wise. He's our only hope. As long as the ruler is present, our clan will be able to take on any problem head-on. A clansman clearly heard Qing Yishuan talk about Jianshen from nearby, and immediately stood up before righteously roaring out. He was extremely protective over the ruler. Yeah, that's right. Our ruler is powerful. He is wise. Right now, our clan has only become like this because the ruler is not present. If the ruler was present, I believe our clan would be able to deal with any problem under his wise leadership. Isn't everything happening today explaining everything even clearer? We cannot be without the ruler. Only when the ruler is with us can we become extremely powerful. Without the ruler, we are nothing. More and more people spoke. They were extremely protective of Jian Chun and rebuked Qing Yishuan. They all possessed blind devotion to the ruler. Even their minds and beliefs were unconsciously affected by Jian Chun. Seeing the mad devotion within the eyes of the clansmen, Qing Yishuan rubbed her head in pain. She shook her head helplessly and murmured, "You're helpless. I really don't understand how Jian Chun's convinced so many people with how long he stayed in the clan." Outside, Tao Jingtian and the other Saint Kings continued spewing provocations. They virtually used everything to try to force out the ruler, but after several days of hard work, they had not caught even a single glimpse of Jian Chun. Meanwhile, Tao Jingtian and the others could not help but begin doubting themselves. They had already guessed that it was extremely likely that Jian Chun was not present, or he was in secluded cultivation. Let's remain here. Even if the ruler of the Turtle Clan isn't here, he probably received a message from someone long ago. He'll probably return soon. Tao Jingtian sat on the top of the Divine Hall at ease. He stared at the Octoterra Divine Hall with half-squinted eyes. He was extremely confident. At this moment, the whistling of air rang out. Two figures quickly shot over from the distance. To the Saint Kings, the two figures' grasp over space was not very profound, but their speed was stunning because it was not slower than Saint Kings. Even some 16th star experts could not travel as fast as them. In the blink of an eye, the two of them stopped between the two divine halls. Their faces were finally visible at that moment. One of them was a young man who seemed to be in his 20s. He wore white robes and was handsome, filled with masculinity. His eyes were sharp like swords, and staring into his eyes would make the observer's own eyeballs hurt. The other person was an extremely burly man. His skin was golden and glowed with a faint metallic luster. He seemed to be made of gold, and the most eye-catching part of him was the center of his brows. There was actually the imprint of an axe there. It's the ruler of the Turtle Clan. The rulers returned. A Saint King from the Alliance saw them and immediately cried out. The two of them just happened to be Jian Chun and Tai Ta. Tao Jingtian's eyes began to glare at them at that moment. He stared at them in interest as he sneered. "Ruler of the Turtle Clan, you finally returned. I've waited for you for several days already." Jian Chun stared at Tao Jingtian and the others who were blocking the main entrance of the Turtle Clan with a sunken face. He then glanced over at the Turtle Clan. He immediately let out a breath of relief. Although the Turtle Clan had been reduced to a mess, there were no corpses or bloody marks. All of them had hidden in the Octoterra Divine Hall. Jian Chun's face became filled with heavy killing intent at that moment. He had never thought that Tao Jingtian would come and block the main entrance of the clan before he could even find him to settle their debt. If he had not left behind the Divine Hall, the entire clan would probably have been rinsed in blood. Tao Jingtian, I was just about to go to your Tao family to completely settle our enmity. I never thought that you'd be so smart and obediently come to meet your maker, Jian Chun growled. Tao Jingtian chuckled aloud. Ruler of the Turtle Clan, you overestimate yourself. I'm standing right here. I'd like to see how you kill me. He was confident. He was currently at the peak of the 8th heavenly layer as a Saint King, and infinitesimally close to the 9th. He had gained a clear understanding of Jian Chun's strength in the battle before, which was not enough to threaten him at all. Jian Chun sneered. Then I'll show you I can kill you right here. Suddenly, a vast presence surged from Jian Chun. It crushed down on Tao Jingtian with an unstoppable force. Tao Jingtian and the 4 other Saint Kings suddenly displayed different expressions. Jian Chun's presence was just far too powerful. Even Tao Jingtian, a peak 8th heavenly layer Saint King, shivered inside. At that moment, he even gained the impression that he was standing before a Saint Emperor. The 5 of them were no longer as composed as before. They all stood up in shock, while disbelief plastered across their faces. Their hearts churned inside. Ruler of the Turtle Clan, I've treated you with a lot of caution, but I've still underestimated you in the end. I never would have thought that your strength would have reached such a level in such a short amount of time. You're no weaker than me. However, Just that much strength is still wishful thinking if you want to kill me. If you don't believe me, we can fight it out somewhere else. Tao Jingtian no longer remained where he was after throwing that out. He immediately flew off into the distance with the divine hall, traveling extremely fast. He disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. The 4 other Saint Kings had entered the divine hall as quickly as they could, so Tao Jingtian had taken them with him. Ruler of the Turtle Clan, if you have the guts, then come. Tao Jingtian's voice loudly rang out from afar. Jianchen moved. He used the illusory flash, causing his body to fuse with the surrounding space. He chased after Tao Jingtian extremely quickly at a speed no slower than him. Jianchen's understanding of the illusory flash had reached a new level in the Xianhuang microcosm. Coupled with his increase in strength, the speed he traveled when using the illusory flash had increased as well. Mysteries of war, celestial movement. Tai Ta turned into a streak of golden light as he tailed behind Jianshen. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.